En dis hoe ons hier sal sien, nou vang hy dit op die ander mic ook op. So dis nou maar net, ons hoef nie eens nou te begin nie, dis nou maar net my cue dat ek dit ergens kan doen.
Kom, ons begin. Jy gaan obviously jou kak doen en dan val ek in.
Yeah, there's not a lot that I actually do. I just begin. I thought I would introduce you.
Yeah, please.
And I don't remember all your
Doesn't fucking matter.
educational stuff, so you're just going to come in. Hello, guys. Welcome to podcast number 4 with doctors. Are you an official doctor?
Yeah.
That's so cool. I actually saw it the other day. I'm like, Seth's actually a doctor. I'm like, that's fucking cool. But
Yeah.
you don't call yourself a doctor
No, well,
in the professional world.
no, in the professional world I do.
You'll say, hi, I'm Dr. Strauss.
Uh-huh.
But in the personal life,
Personal, I don't care.
when you make a reservation at a restaurant, you don't say Dr. Strauss.
No, I don't. But all my patients in the clinic, everybody else would refer to me as doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's quite cool to have that lingo or like that thing with your doctor where you say, hi, doc, or okay, doctor. Like
Yeah.
there's something weird mentally that makes you feel like...
I don't know, in today's society it doesn't matter that much to me.
Yeah.
Be calling a doctor or like what I normally tell people, I go, doctor technically means to educate or to teach.
Yeah.
So, and I think we fail like as a whole where doctors don't educate people anymore. And that's a big problem because it takes the responsibility off the person.
And what I thought the other day with doctors is, in jiu-jitsu or martial arts, black belt actually means minimal competency. Like you now competent, but you like on the basic level. And it's almost like when you get your doctorate, you're like on the basic level.
Yeah.
There's still so much involved.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's why, from a medical point, we get on well. Because I get the impression that you do a lot of studying post-doctorate, I think more than the average doctors, because I think you get a lot of cases which is interesting. And I think what I like about you and why you coming onto the podcast is because you're trying to see 20 different angles to one problem, where a lot of doctors are like, pigeonhole, we're doing this.
Yeah, I honestly see it a lot like playing detective in a sense, almost like a board game or a game for that matter. Like, it's funny because we've known each other for how long now?
I thought about it. I think 18 years now.
About 18 years.
Yeah.
Like, we went to the same school. We played in bands together. But the bottom line is, and he knows, I love games. I always have loved games, and that's how I see it. It's impossible for every doctor to know everything.
But you were cheating with Final Fantasy, where you put the book on top of the X button through the night.
That I wouldn't call that cheating. I would call it hacking.
Okay.
So it's the same thing with our biology and physiology. So a lot of the advice I've given you, right?
Yeah.
It's basically hacking your body to get a certain result. And you can do it in a couple of different ways and with different methods, but that's what it comes down to. So I don't technically see that as cheating, except that you can hack it and figure out how to get around stuff.
No, definitely. There are some quick fixes to certain problems.
Like?
I don't know. You're the doctor. So just quickly, you're not like a GP doctor. So you fall under...
I am a doctor of chiropractic.
So
And
I'm just going to get off the block here. Why do a lot of medical practitioners or physical therapists not like chiropractors? Why is there like a frowned upon industry almost?
this is a
We
great...
got to get that out of the way,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
if you're going to listen
Like
to
100%.
Seth and why blah 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 blah, you got to get over that.
Okay, so it's all about our history,
Yeah.
right? So even when we look at medicine, we look at and how medicine has evolved over time.
Yeah.
You got to go back to the history, and I don't think a lot of people actually recognize or realize the history of chiropractic and the medical system, especially in America.
Okay.
So chiropractic was founded in 1895, right? Where this dude basically manipulated the neck of a guy that couldn't hear. He was deaf for
Yeah.
like 17 years, and he could hear afterwards.
Okay.
And we can go into the geeky science, because I've spoken to you about how your vestibular system, your ears, like are literally interconnected with the top couple of joints in your neck, right? Which is your postural control system, vestibular control system, and ocular control system. But I'm not going to go into that much detail right now. But the bottom line is, the first couple of classes that they gave as doctors for chiropractic, because it was going to be a subset of medicine, right? A lot of those guys studying that back in the early 1900s were medical doctors going, okay, let's try something else, instead of just pushing the pills. Because it's a big epidemic in America, the pills, right? We've got a massive opioid crisis because everybody that's on pain gets addicted to pain pills.
Oxycontin or what's that?
Yeah, all that stuff, right? It's very, very shit to a human being. So bottom line is, the American Medical Association basically looked at us and go, okay, well, this is going to be a direct competitor. So in 1910 or 1912, the American Medical Association paid $1 million US. For those that are listening, in that time, that amount of money was ridiculous.
It's like more than $1 billion.
Oh,
now.
yeah, like at least. But they did it specifically to launch a smear campaign against chiropractic.
And is there a paper trail to that?
Yeah.
So
there's documents. You can go get this on Google.
Okay.
If you go deep enough on Google down the rabbit hole,
Yeah.
you can find everything and anything you want.
Okay.
Like, there's even medical books written about their own profession in the 1960s on how bad medical doctors thought their own profession were. And I'm not saying it's all bad, guys. I'm not. That's not my personality or my attitude. Like, medicine can save your life. It really can. But for a lot of chronic conditions that we see, it's completely failing us, right? And we know this, especially in America, because heart disease is increasing, cancer is increasing. The third leading cause of death in America is medical errors, right? And that's not my opinion. I hate opinions. Opinions are like rectums. Everybody has one, and most of them are full of shit. I said I wasn't going to cuss too much, but it's going to come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But in any case, right, so we're going to talk about these controversial subjects. But in any case, the American Medical Association launched this whole smear campaign all over the world, Marva. And basically, on the front page of the New York Times, chiropractors are quacks. Chiropractors are unscientific. Chiropractors are this. Chiropractors are that. They launched it all over the world. Then the Chiropractic Association, so the guy's name was Wilkes, right? They actually sued the American Medical Association, and guess who won?
Medical Association?
No, we did. I
Okay.
wouldn't be sitting here if they won.
All right.
Think about that real quick, right? And that's what and a lot of people I ask that question, right?
So they prove that they're not bullshit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yet, those things aren't really at the surface, because why? Mass media controls.
Okay.
Mass media controls. We get indoctrinated as kids on how to think, on what to do, right? And it's the same thing growing up in America. If you go watch the television, every 2 minutes you're seeing a pharmaceutical ad. And basically going, take this depression medication. They're showing you this nice cartoon people smiling, and in the background, right, below the happy music, it's like, side effects may cause suicide, may cause additional this, may cause Crohn's disease, may cause blah, blah, blah. And just go listen to one on YouTube. You'd laugh your ass off.
Yeah.
It goes for about 2-3 minutes, just the side effects. So what I teach all my patients, I go, every medicine has a what, guys? Negative side effect.
Yeah.
Not positive, negative side effect. Some people need it, some people don't. I'm not saying it's all bad, but what I am saying, for a lot of the chronic stuff, it just doesn't work.
It's like my brother's cancer, like towards the end. I think he was on something like 25 pills. And
Yeah.
it's not like he needed everyone. It just meant that for every pill he's taking, there's a certain side effect. Then he needs another pill for that side effect. Then he needs another pill for that side effect. And in the end, he's on 20 pills. And I don't know how much that shut down his body. Like, I obviously understand the pain stuff. But, he had painkillers. Then his stomach didn't work properly. Then he needed something for that. And it's just crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it happens, it's like a lot of men take protein pump inhibitors, right? So for acid reflux.
Oh, yeah?
But we know for a fact that will actually cause the bacteria in the gut biome to go completely out of whack. And that can lead to stuff like C. difficile, which is a very life-threatening condition, right? Where the person's they diagnose you with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, or Crohn's, but nobody does a poop test to actually look at the bacteria, and some of those bacteria really matters, you know, and that'll completely throw it out of sorts.
Joe Rogan, I spoke to you. So we spoke about Joe Rogan. Can't say enough cuck about or shit about chiropractors. Why is he so negative about them? I know he looked up on Wikipedia and he shows to people like it's all bullshit, witch doctor, almost type of petty crap. And then why is he so negative about chiropractors?
Because he had one bad experience.
All right.
See, the problem with a profession on the fringe, and I'll tell you, and I'll be the first one to tell you, right? We've spoken about this. A lot of the traditional chiropractic I don't like either.
Okay.
Because there's more to it, right? And I think growing up here and our schooling here gives you a little bit more of critical thinking, almost like playing detective and understanding, you know, like going to America, the studies are just a little bit different. But what I will say is he had a very bad experience. And he went to a very traditional guy, no x-rays. And Joe Rogan knew that he had previous disc herniations in his neck.
What's disc herniation?
So...
What's that?
Disc bulge, disc herniation, you know, it's a slip disc. There's so many different layman's terms to it.
Okay.
But it's essentially where, so in between the two bones, there's a disc, right? So the disc is the joint in a sense. And that's got fluid in it. It has little fibers on the side to keep all the good water and nutrition on the inside.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what the hydration mechanism is.
Okay.
And essentially, if things are out of whack from traumatic events, right? Rugby, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, wrestling, all the things that Joe Rogan does. Football, whatever.
He doesn't do that,
but those bones, right, can literally compress on one side, like on the front, and it can start pushing that jelly out of the donut. And I explained that very simple. But he knew he had that. He went to a traditional chiropractor. The sad thing is, being on a fringe like profession, he only went to one. Whereas I'm pretty sure you've had a bad doctor in your life, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How many have you had?
Few.
Do you go back?
I try not to, but like my psychiatrist at the moment, I've been thinking for a year that he's bullshit, and I've been going to him for a year. I'm forced to financially, but I keep on going back. I keep on challenging him, and he keeps on arguing with me. And then I went to you, and we can basically tell him, fuck off.
Yeah, and it's the same type of thing. Unfortunately, people have had bad experiences with different professions, you know, yet they go back.
Yeah.
But he was unwilling to give chiropractic another shot, which is fine. That's his choice. I personally love Joe Rogan. I listen to his podcast all the time. I look past the fact that he doesn't like chiropractic. I really couldn't care because nobody's actually educated the dude. So he's just talking out of his ass, essentially.
On that topic.
Yeah, especially Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is bullshit. Anybody can go write anything they want on Wikipedia.
Peer-reviewed articles.
That's right. Peer-reviewed. That's what you want. You want peer-reviewed research, right? So Joe Rogan believes in decompression therapy because I've heard him talk about it on the podcast almost every single time when somebody has a neck issue.
Yeah.
I do a lot of decompression in my office. I wish he walked into my office because he would have been like, this is fucking cool. Right? Because he would have seen, like, we're doing decompression on people's neck. We're doing decompression on people's lumbar spine, like the lower back, to actually get those discs, everything healed. So he believes in some of the stuff I do. He just went to a dude, like probably a hole in the wall that just like put him and racked and cracked him. You know, that's what I call the pop and pray method.
Yeah.
It's a pop and pray method. I like objectivity. I like data, right? You can't just look at a person and go, okay, I think you have this.
I've gone to a physiotherapist in Warsaw in Poland. That's the weird thing going to another country. Like, where do you turn for good advice, good help?
Yeah.
And that's a tricky thing. And I think even when I had problems earlier the year, I'm like, who do I go to that I actually trust, that's open-minded enough, that's actually educated, or even if they're not educated, are willing to do research on my behalf and try to get me. And I went to this physiotherapist, and he was straight away, this is my price, but if you book 10 sessions, that's the price. I'm like, dude, you haven't even checked what's fucking wrong with me. And then he does like a little bit of cream massage. Then there's some weird lasers. And then obviously the massage makes you feel better.
Well,
like,
yeah.
that takes anything away, but that doesn't treat. It wasn't like, why are you having this? What can we do? And I was just like, this is just bullshit. So there's bullshit artists out there.
Yeah, bro, but it's in every profession.
Yeah.
There's medical doctors sitting behind their desk. As soon as you walk in and you list them a couple of symptoms,
Yeah.
they're going to be like, boom, you have high blood pressure, or boom, you have high cholesterol, or boom, this is your diagnosis, this is your diagnosis. And then there's actually medical doctors that's going to get to know you a little bit. And they're going to be like, okay, let's see what you really need here.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in chiropractic. We have chiropractors that before you walk in, same thing. They know they're going to sell you on X amount of sessions. They have every care plan as a template.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to just do the same thing over and over again. So when I talk with anybody that comes into my office, I really believe in an education-based system. So my first visit is 1 hour.
Okay.
My second visit is almost an hour. So that I can get to know the person in front of me and look at what stresses are really, right, taking away from this person's quality of life. Because the quality of life is what matters. You know, you can temporarily take pain away, but a lot of times it comes back because there's a threshold in the brain. And so I'm very education based, and that's why I do it like that. So I can explain to them the difference between a manipulation, the difference between an adjustment, what a massage does for you. Because I love massages. I go for a lot of massages. But massage isn't necessarily going to fix a disc herniation. You see what I'm saying? It might temporarily relieve some symptoms because the muscles are spasming out around an area to protect it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you got to go, okay, Merve, here's some good short-term stuff and here's some good long-term stuff. But we really want to focus more on the long-term stuff.
Do you want the blue or red pill?
That's right. Do you want the blue or red pill? And I love people, you know that. Bottom line is, for some people, they want the blue pill. They want the quick fix.
Yeah.
Right? They just want to go in and go, hey, doc, my back's killing me. Can you please give me a crack?
Yeah.
And I just tell them, perfect. I'm not the office for you. There's a different office down the street. You're going to save some money too. Right? Yeah. And if you're just honest with people with clarity, people really respond to that, and they like it like that. You know?
You actually filter the patients that you want to work with and don't work with.
Well, yeah. I mean, if somebody comes to me, I like long-term solutions because I don't want you to come back to me the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, I have patients that
It's a terrible business model.
I know, dude. I literally fucking tell myself that on a daily basis. I go, maybe I should just crack people and just crack people and just crack people. And I know I'm using the word crack, and some chiropractors watching this might not like it. I don't give a shit. Sorry. It is a bad business model, but it helps people, and that's the bottom line. And for some people, when they walk in and they're 60, 70, and they want to get rid of a limp or these things, I tell them, you want lemonade, you're not giving me a lemon here. Yeah. So for some people at that age, if they've let things deteriorate and become arthritic to that degree, sometimes they need pain management for the rest of their life. Like, I had a lady come in, right? So they fused her whole back in the wrong position, right? So any mechanical engineer that listens, right, your structure needs to be strong, just like you build bridges. It's the same type of deal, right? So you should have a nice, beautiful curve in your lower back. They fused her like this, the complete opposite. So her whole body is hunched over and she can't stand up straight. And she's in her 60s. So I take x-rays, I do measurements, I go through my whole process.
Is that the x-rays you were showing me the other day?
Yeah, and I go through my whole process and I go, listen here, my dear, this is not something that's really going to get fixed, because she's had, I think, 2 back surgeries. I go, you need management for the rest of your life at least once a week, and it doesn't even have to be with me. I'm just telling you what you need.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just honesty, because with her, it's impossible to get her. It's going to be impossible to get somebody like that out of pain in the long term.
Yeah.
We can decrease the pain levels. We can increase the quality of life, but that's going to be a weekly type of deal.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like a 300-pound smoker that wants to start losing weight. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
It's just not.
So we're obviously going to start talking about nutrition and a few different things on how to get your life better. But just for the people that know, like, and I think it's so weird to explain. I know you're a doctor of chiropractic, but it's almost like you're a holistic healer. And as soon as you use the word holistic, it's like, it's bullshit. But what I like is, like, if you go to his institute, which I've not, but he showed me, you basically come in with an appointment. What I love about your place is you have an x-ray machine right there.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like it has to be referred somewhere.
Nope.
You make money off the other company. You have your own blood tests that you do in there. So here in Stellenbosch, like, I'll go see my GP. He refers me to Mediclinic where I do the x-rays. Then they go back to him. Then he refers me to Pathcare. Then he goes back. Then he sends me to some sort of specialist. Everything is happening at your place.
Yeah, and it makes it so much easier for somebody like you. Right? So when you come in, and that's what I tell people, like, I have children that come in, right? So, and the parents get that the spinal alignment, the posture, right?
Yeah.
That's what we really talk about is posture. That posture is essential for your quality of life. People don't realize that, by the way. People don't even know that. But there is over at least 500 peer-reviewed PubMed papers showing posture in geriatric populations and how it affects quality of life, depression, all these different things, slipping and falling. So I always talk to my young patients about geriatric populations because that's when it matters, right? You're gonna bust your ass to make all this money, get to 60 and want to retire, and then you're stuck in 8 out of 10 pain on a daily basis, or you have a limp, or you can't go swim in the ocean anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's just stupid, in my opinion. That's just completely stupid.
Yeah.
So you wanna make sure that your meat suit stays healthy.
Yeah.
So that your brain and your spirit inside can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Because it's all interconnected. When you say holistic, we're just randomly talking. When you say holistic, yes, a lot of people like sort of just jumps the ship.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to the word holistic. Because what does it really mean?
Everything.
It means
whole
everything.
thing.
The best analogy I have and that I say in my workshops, I go, it's looking at the forest rather than treating an individual tree.
Okay.
And that's what medicine has become.
Hmm.
They're treating trees instead of looking at the forest of the person, the ecology, right? The ecosystem, because that's what you are, right? I don't know, the people that's listening, you know, it's the same type of thing. We are so interconnected with the universe and the people around us that everything we do unto others affects us. That's holism. That's a holistic philosophy. Whereas the whole medical system is a mechanistic philosophy, right? It's just break a shoulder down to the sum of its parts and understand the smallest part, then we can fix it. But it doesn't work that way. Because if somebody has a shoulder issue, it could be a neck issue. It could be an elbow issue.
It's like my body is struggling, and then we looked at my testosterone levels.
Yeah.
And it's not about cracking anything or massaging anything.
And that's the point. Like, I have kids that moms brings them in for posture, and I tell the parents, I go, well, the posture really isn't an issue here, but it's most likely the food that's causing the migraines, the chronic migraines. And the results we get is and I would say we change lives on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because, like, we had this young 12-year-old, the mom brought her in, suffered with migraines every single day of almost for 6 years, 7 years. She had rashes, right? Like, literally rashes all up her legs, even into her like private area. And the mom brought her in because the mom had severe back pain. We took care of that in like less than a month. But then she brought in her oldest daughter. And I looked at the posture, I looked at the spine, and I go, hey, Mom, it's not really an issue.
And you looked at the posture and the spine with x-rays.
With x-rays.
Not just like your eyes.
Well, not just x-rays, guys.
And isn't there the video you take and then
Yep.
you put it into your video programs and everything?
It's a big fucking process to do with a person, but it matters because the devil's in the details. When you look at posture, you don't just look at a person and go, okay, now I've got it. No. You have, like, I literally had Madhava close his eyes, walk in place, shrug the shoulders, look down, look up with his eyes closed, then come to a standstill, and I take a picture of him in his underwear. Then he does the same thing facing to the side, and I actually put the dots on the right places, right? On the right landmarks, so we can get millimeters and centimeters of translations or rotations. So this is kinesiology in a sense, right? So we can go, okay, where are the shifts happening and what needs to be fixed? So then we take x-rays and I measure every joint angulation in your body and I compare it to normative surgical data. Not made up cuck, not just like made up stuff that, no, this is measurements they use in surgical journals.
Yeah.
So it must be important.
And everything runs through you and your institute, which is amazing. Because this is the other thing that we spoke about that I love. Hormone deficiencies. Blood test shows that. However, let's change some things. Let's do the test again.
Yes.
Let's change some things. Let's do the test again. Let's take x-rays again. Now here is just a nightmare because it means you have to go to so many people. Like everything is run out of your institute.
And I'll tell you, the whole focus for us isn't pain management. It's not, because we're focused on long-term solutions. So the whole focus for us is inflammation and stress.
Okay.
Because inflammation has been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt to be linked to every single human disease on this planet.
And what creates inflammation?
What creates so inflammation is a very good thing in an acute situation. So acute means immediate. Yeah. So if me and Merve runs full speed at each other and we hit each other in rugby, your body's going to have some inflammation on the shoulders that we just hit each other with.
So the body parts that connect, that's where the inflammation goes.
That's right, because it wants to heal itself. Okay. That's in an acute situation and it saves lives. It's amazing. But it's the chronic inflammation that becomes systemic that's not cool. So here's the thing. So trauma, right? That's what I just explained. We're running full speed, BAM! Yeah. Right? Trauma will elevate inflammation.
Physical trauma.
Food.
Sorry, just before you go on. What does the ice packet do on the body? Why do they put ice on the body?
Ice has been debunked.
All right. So after impact, putting ice on for 15 minutes.
Ice will help numb the pain. So if it's painful, ice works. But ice isn't going to really stimulate histamines or substance P or all these things that's going to create the healing on the inside of it.
And that was originally what it was used for.
Exactly. Now, compression is where the money's at. So I'm not saying don't ice because, it's still going to numb the nerves.
And the swelling, I think swelling is good.
Compression helps swelling more than ice.
What's compression?
Compression would be if my knee was swollen, to strap the sucker as hard as I could.
So put
like an ace bandage or some type of bandage where it's very compressed. That really works, even for exercise. That's why
almost cut off blood circulation.
It actually improves the circulation, which is crazy. It's a little bit counterintuitive, right? You think it cuts it off.
It's like if you're on the racetrack in the circle, like you do counter steering.
But just think about in the last 30 years how compression garments, right, has been like increasing and sold better because they've shown, right, where they've got like athletes doing squats or doing bench press, they've shown that by wearing those compression garments, it actually pushes through the lactic acid a little bit quicker, so you can actually do a little bit more, right?
And is that why rugby players wrap their knees and stuff, or is that? And this plasters that they put on you on your muscles,
kinesiotaping,
is that? But that's different from compression.
That is different from compression.
We get to that a bit later.
That's right. So I actually do that with some of my athletes,
all right,
that need it. I don't do it with everybody because it is a little bit time consuming.
Okay.
Like cutting the stuff and putting it on in the right places and everything else.
All right. So back to the trauma, physical trauma, compression.
Yeah. So back to this whole concept of inflammation, right? And how inflammation basically kills people. It really does. When we look at heart disease, right? We know there's a continuous chronic inflammatory response happening inside the system. Okay. So if we eat a piece of food that doesn't work for our bodies, right? Let's just say
ice cream.
Let's say ice cream. That's a very good example, right? Ice cream is going to have an inflammatory response, an acute inflammatory response. But then there's certain people who eat ice cream on a daily basis. See, that's where this whole problem comes in.
So let's break. What's in the ice cream that gives you that inflammatory reaction?
Sugar and dairy.
Okay.
Sugar and dairy and ice cream is going to spike the insulin. It's going to have a very negative effect on your blood pressure as well. But
and what's the body part? Say that's your kidney or your liver and
your pancreas.
Okay.
So when we talk about dairy, it's going to be all pancreas, right?
Okay.
So dairy has been linked to type 2 diabetes, right? This is a proven fact now. Dairy's been linked to arthritis and osteoporosis, which is quite funny and fucked up because, you know, we grew up as children on TV going, milk makes your bones stronger.
Your teeth won't fall out.
See, who taught us that bullshit? The media did. And who taught them the stuff? The people paying money.
So you say it's proven, and I just want to get this out there. What does it mean, proven?
Okay.
So when you say it's proven, it's obviously referring to someone's proven it. How have they proven it? How can we say, because we all have this thing like, my dad came to me the other day and said, coconut oil leads to cancer. And I'm like, who said that? No, like the study showed that. So what do you mean it's proven?
So everything you guys read on the internet, you should take with a big, big wallop.
So if you read The Burger, The Argus, Cape Times, New York Times.
Hey man, I might sound like a fucking out there conspiracy theorist, but just follow the money.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Just follow the money, especially when we look at America, right? The dairy industry back in the early 1900s when it became big, right? Invested a ton of money in what? Marketing. Not research, not clinical. Why would a dairy company go do clinical research on milk? No, they wouldn't. Because their forefathers told them that milk was good or whatever, right? Since farming, I think the advent of farming was like 7,000 or 8,000 years ago.
And like you said the other day, possibly 100 or 200 years ago, when that cow was eating good grass, blah, 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 non-pasteurized, and you drink it from the teat almost, it might have been good for you.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, you look at Dr. Weston Price. He was this dentist that went all over the world. It's called the Weston Price Foundation, right? And what's quite cool is he basically studied all these ancient tribes. And the people in West Africa did really eat a lot of dairy with no cardiovascular disease, you know, no cancers and none of that stuff. So, yeah, maybe if the animal was happy and he wasn't being force-fed with a tube down the throat, we'd be okay.
And like we said, and this is the thing that I've never considered, in what circumstances are the cows living? And obviously traumatic, emotional or mental traumatic experiences releases certain hormones, and then you take that in.
Well, just take yourself, for instance. Everybody that's listening to this, just take yourself, for instance. We are an animal species. Most people don't think about it like that. They don't think we're an animal species. We are a biological animal species. Right. So when we talk about health, we talk about species-specific health. What goes for our species doesn't go for cows. Definitely doesn't go for lions, doesn't go for giraffes, right? So we got to think about it from a different perspective. But we are not cows. So drinking cow milk is probably not the best thing for us.
Drinking breast milk.
That would be a way better solution, but I don't see that. I
old.
don't see that they're gonna put human beings. Yeah, I don't see that they're gonna put human beings, force feed them, and just.
You keep a few pregnant ladies in the back of your institute. You're like, okay, but I'm gonna stop you there because you say that there's no data proving milk is good for you, but is there data proving that milk is bad for you?
Yes.
Okay. So because you say it's proven.
So if you go on pubmed.gov, right, it's basically the database for all the peer-reviewed literature in the world. Now, for those of you listening and you don't know what the fuck I just said.
What's peer-reviewed for those?
That's right.
I have a university degree. I know. There's some people.
Peer-reviewed means if Merve wrote a transcript, he's got a panel of 50 people like myself that's going to read the transcript.
Like yourself, professionals,
that's doctors, that's published, that's previously published, right? You have to have, I think, about 10 publications before you can even be on the board for something like that.
Before you consider a peer.
That's right. So then 50 people basically tears through his paper, right, and destroys it. They don't hold back because It's not like they're your friend and they have to be your friend. You get the thing back.
Yeah. The truth is the
and
friend.
it's read on read by 50 different people. Then now you have to go read all 50 and go, okay, cock, now I got to make this change. I got to make this. And they'll ask you about your methods. They'll ask you about your actual statistics that you do. Right? They're going to be very hard on that.
Because you said to me the other day, people say blur. And then you said, okay, go do an analysis. And how do you choose and what is an appropriate way of getting data?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways. And in research, right, there's different levels of evidence. So we know that the best level of evidence is a double-blind randomized control clinical trial.
Say that a bit slower.
A double-blind randomized control trial.
And that means?
That means, right, they've taken two groups of people.
How big?
30, 20, even sometimes 20 people, okay. Right? It doesn't have to be a massive study. Like if you look at the massive studies, it's called the Framingham studies that's been done in the world. And then they take like 30,000 people. They did a Framingham study on cholesterol and basically showed, proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, that no cholesterol medication actually works on like 20 or 30,000 people.
Yeah.
Right? Over a period of like 15 to 20 years. Right? So there are massive studies like that, but then there's smaller studies, right? So let's say they take 20 people in one group, 20 people in a different group. This 20 is going to get X treatment, right? And this...
So let's say we give them coffee every day, and does that improve their life?
Okay, perfect. Let's use coffee. That's great. And with the cool new cups. Madhav doesn't even know. I might just steal this. But in any case, just because I'm the first one drinking out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So... if we take coffee, for instance, let's say Madhav has 20 people in his group and I have 20 people in my group, right? They're going to give Madhav's group coffee to see the effects on the brain, to see if it actually stimulates everybody the way every previous paper on coffee has been shown to do.
But how do you test the effect on the brain? So this fucking rabbit hole goes deeper and deeper.
So it depends. On coffee, right? They can literally do a urine test to look at the neurotransmitters, right? So when we talk about neurotransmitters are like serotonin and dopamine. Those are the only two I'm going to talk about because let's just keep it easy, right? So that's basically the feeling that you get.
So by doing a urine test, you know what's happening in the brain.
Absolutely. You can do a urine test, you can do a blood test, you can do a saliva test. All three have been proven to be valid.
And do you do all of those at your institute?
I do.
Okay.
Right. So we can look at the effects of coffee on you guys.
All
and
right.
then we're going to get a coffee substitute, a placebo.
It tastes like coffee. It feels like coffee.
But it's not coffee.
There's no caffeine in.
But they're going to run the same tests on us. So they're going to basically show that their coffee product outweighs a placebo. That would be a good study because beating a placebo is quite hard. You know, it really is because the power of the mind is really vast and it's really powerful.
So if you think you're drinking coffee, you feel invigorated.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've done studies like, I mean, you even remember even going through sports physiology here in Stellenbosch and basically going over one group of athletes getting steroids. This was a randomized clinical trial.
Yeah.
And one group getting a water-based injection.
All right.
And both groups got the same result.
No way.
Power of the mind, man.
So just on that topic, you have which degree at Stellenbosch University?
I have my degree in sports science.
At Stellenbosch
Yeah,
University?
at Stellenbosch.
And then Atlanta, Georgia? Or where?
That was my Doctorate of Chiropractic.
And then to use the x-ray machine, is that like a separate course and a blood test?
No.
Or
See,
does everything involved in...
Here's the crazy part. People think a Doctor of Chiropractic goes through a weekend course.
Yeah.
I've got 9 years of studies under my belt.
The two universities combined.
Yeah. We study just as much diagnosis and pathology and more radiography than medical doctors.
And the pharmaceutical side, you guys
We
study
do
that?
not touch pharmaceuticals. Instead of doing pharmaceuticals, we do nutrition.
All right.
Which I prefer in any case, right? Let them do the prescriptions and stuff. And if I need to send somebody, I'll send somebody. You know, I've got a couple of good contacts where I am.
And we're going to talk about this, but let's not drift off topic. We're coming back to the data of the two groups.
Yeah, so that's how you do a study, right?
All right.
Very simply put, that's how we're going to basically do our study. Now, there'll be methods involved, right? So the methods will differ from study to study. So the method for the coffee might be that all these 30 people are actually doing a urine test.
And then milk is proven not to help you. Or it's proven that there's detrimental effects.
There we go. Milk will help you get bigger, faster, and stronger. But milk will affect your quality of life later on in life if you keep doing it.
So bigger, faster, stronger. So that's muscles.
Yes.
And then which way does it detrimentally affect you?
Well, and the reason it works for muscles and for athletes,
hormones in the milk.
Every day after rugby, I played here at Stellenbosch and Paul Ruiz. You can ask him.
Yeah.
I would drink 2 liters of milk because I didn't know better.
Are we going to talk about how dodgy Paul Ruiz is when selecting people for their teams?
I think that's like a whole different political conversation that needs to happen. But yeah, but it works for muscle because it spikes insulin.
Okay.
And insulin is one of the biggest growth factors for us. So it is, but it's going to absolutely destroy the pancreas in the long run.
And the insulin then goes back to heart disease, or what does the
No,
insulin do? Or diabetes?
It'll go more towards diabetes because it'll really F up the actual pancreas function, the spikes in the insulin. So, and all the calcium and everything you get in milk, it's added bullshit. It's not just, it doesn't come in the milk. Why? Because they're force feeding these animals. You're getting all this pus, right? Because they're being force fed and they're depressed. They're depressed animals, right? Think about yourself for a second, right? We all have the ability to be happy and we all have the ability to be depressed.
So when Hannibal Lecter wants to eat me, he needs to get me in a very calm state so that my meat tastes nice.
Yes, correct. If you eat healthy animals, you'll be healthy. If you eat sick animals, no shit, Sherlock. I mean, it's quite simple when you break it down like that. But so back to the milk, right? Like this, if you're on PubMed.gov and you pull up the studies on the milk, you'll see it's been linked to arthritis, osteoporosis, type 2 diabetes, and even rheumatoid arthritis, not just osteoarthritis. And if anybody wants any of these studies, I mean, we can put it on your, like, in a link or something.
But then how big is a document like that? Do you just read the introduction and conclusion, or do you go through the whole 100 pages?
Well, again, and here's the issue. Most people can't even read one research paper because a lot of the stuff goes above their head. Right? It just does.
Yeah.
That's why it's so much simpler for people to read articles. The problem with an article, it's not research.
Yeah.
Anybody can do a blog. Anybody in this world. We can start our own new blog right now on whatever we want. We can say that the Earth is now a triangle. We'll be the Triangle Earth Club.
Yeah.
And we'll start blogging, and people there might be a couple of whacked out people to read it.
And what people don't understand is how cheap websites are. So I have a Talking Orangutans website.
Yeah.
I got one for my dad's business. I think it's about 150 Rand a year, which is $10 a year. And then I can do as much shit on that website. So if I spent, I don't know, 20,000 Rand, can you imagine the type of articles that I can put out under different names?
Exactly.
And I can create a whole buzz around something just for 20,000.
Exactly. But unfortunately, people think that's research when they go through these articles and people's opinions and stuff. So again, even when you listen to me, right? Don't just trust everything I say. Go look this shit up. Go look it up. Go do some digging. But the bottom line is you have level 1 to level 5 evidence, right? Your top level is randomized clinical trials. Your bottom level is a case study, right? So a case study, guys, would be if I did my protocols on Merve, right? And I've got his testosterone tests right now, which is a little bit lower than it should be. And in 6 months, I help him and we retest, and it's at optimal ideal levels. And I publish that as a case study.
Okay.
So I'm actually working this year to get like about 3 or 4 of those done, right? Because it helps. It really does. People, and even though the level of evidence isn't as high as a randomized clinical trial, it still shows people that there's a possibility. You know, it's, for instance, there's a couple of cool medical papers showing that after surgical correction of the neck, the thyroid actually started working again.
What's the thyroid?
Your thyroid gland.
Okay.
Right? So, funny, in your test, they actually tested, like the one test was for your TSH.
Yeah, because I said like this, like I'll show you pictures a bit later on how thin I was 3 years ago. And if you compare, so 3 years ago, 95 kilograms, probably body fat percentage of, I don't know, 10 to 12, 13.
Yeah.
Super fit, super healthy, but obviously brother dying, going bankrupt, blah, 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 severe stress. And it's 3 years later and I'm 25 kilograms heavier. I can't lose weight no matter how much exercise, what nutrition. So they were testing the thyroid gland. But I said to him, I think it's other stuff. I think it's testosterone. I think it's sleep. I don't know what it is.
And again, and that's why I freaking love what we do. And because we're providing a more comprehensive solution. See, when they test your thyroid, they tested TSH. And a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about is going to be very controversial, and it's cool.
Yeah, and we're almost, I think, like 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to the controversial
but
stuff.
I'm about to get a little bit controversial. Here's why I hate some of the medical bullshit.
Yeah.
Because they tested this man for his thyroid. They tested TSH. One level they tested. One level. TSH is a pituitary hormone, not a thyroid hormone. So if your TSH is not ideal, if it's high or it's low, it's not a thyroid problem. It's a pituitary problem. Yet they're going to prescribe you drugs like levothyroxine or Synthroid for a thyroid problem. When you go read the contraindications on those medications, it's going to tell you, right, that if people are allergic to eggs, wheat, or a couple of different ingredients, right, or if the person suffers from adrenal fatigue, which they never tested, do not take the medication. That's why a lot of females on these hormones, on these Synthroid and levothyroxine, just keeps getting fatter and fatter and fatter. They don't know why they can't lose weight. Some of them suffer with such bad adrenal fatigue, they can't sleep at night, yet they're exhausted. And here's why. You can't just test TSH for a thyroid issue. You got to look at T3, T4, free T3, free T4, reverse T3, and you got to look at the transporter molecules, ferritin and vitamin D3. That is a comprehensive test that we run.
Yeah.
And that's going to show you all the details. Is it a transporting issue, right? Is it really those issues? Or is it an adrenal fatigue issue, right? So easy to run an adrenal fatigue P test. You just, like, literally, it's such a simple test that's going to show us if the adrenal glands are actually doing what it needs to do, if it's metabolizing the cortisol, the cortisone, the stress hormones. Because it all comes down to stress a lot of times for people. Right? And stress is just going to tank you. So Madhva, basically, you just told us, bro, that you went through a ton of stress.
Yeah.
That's what you said in a sentence, right? Brother dying, bankrupt, all these different things. All those stress is probably why you're sitting where you're sitting. Because it's an accumulation compounding effect.
So it catches up with you.
It catches up with everybody.
So a year and a half later, 2 years later, because of the sustained stress, something started changing inside.
Absolutely. Your body has to adapt to the stress. Think about it like this, for instance. Easy analogy, right? The human genome was shaped about 40 to 60,000 years ago. Not my opinion. Go pull up all the anthropological research on it by people like Al Cordain.
Okay.
Right? Brilliant researchers on anthropology. And your body doesn't know the difference between a tiger attacking you at a water hole, like getting some water, or a deadline at work. It's the same bloody physiological response. So it's stress.
Yeah.
And your body doesn't know the difference. So when you're in that state of a tiger attacking you for 6 to 8 hours a day and you wonder why your body's giving up on you, there's your answer.
And the help I was seeking, because the body wasn't doing well, was physiotherapists. And I have some amazing physiotherapists.
Yeah.
But it's what we concluded was my core muscles aren't strong. That's why I have pain in the rest of my body. And I actually drew up, and this is the weird thing, a lot of a lot of the people I went to see, they didn't believe me. But at that point, I was starting a business and the business wasn't happening. So I had a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I did about 20 to 30 hours exercise a week, a variety. And they were just like, no, it's impossible. You can't do that much exercise. I'm like, you underestimate the strength of my mind, how I can keep myself busy and push through. And they were just basically core muscles, this and that, this and that. And basically how I got to Seth earlier the year, all that trauma happened in my life. I have my coping mechanisms. I did seek certain advice and help in my ways. And then, like I said, if this last year, I've been dealing with repetitive brain injury. Again, psychiatrists didn't believe me. I went to go look at the research. Joe Rogan podcast helped me a lot. Then that said, hormones are dropping because of basically brain damage. It's like you said, a fractured back or a fractured bone in the back. That's a broken back. It's not a fracture. So people don't like it when I say brain damage, but I've actually damaged my brain. So I call it brain damage.
But it's true. And
then, sorry, I'm going to get to you now. But so I got diagnosed with depression. So it's like, get onto the pills. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this. Then it was like, I've got brain damage. Let's get you on the pills. And then it's like, I still don't feel that amazing, and I still have all these body problems, and body problems, I don't mean mental stuff. I'm just like, physically, I don't feel great. So I contacted Seth, and he was just basically like, okay, cool. We're not even going to do anything physical. We just literally changing your nutrition. And we changed so much. And I went back to my psychiatrist, almost wanting to show him, go fuck yourself. And I said to him, what this nutritional and lifestyle change has done, it's almost more than both of those pills combined. And that is anything from sleeping proper hours, eating right, cutting out certain things. But and that gets back to what you're talking about.
But why does it work? Because the food you eat affects the chemistry of your brain. See, and this is the really fucked up part. We've not been told that as kids.
No.
Nobody has taught us that the food we eat influences our mood, influences our brain chemistry and our happiness. People don't think...
And anyone frowning in South Africa, have you ever given your kid a Coke float or a cream soda float or fizzes or sugus?
And you know what? And I'm not sitting here in front of people and going, I'm perfect. I'm not. Right.
How many liters of ice cream did you have last night?
But that's why I felt like shit this morning.
But at least when I eat ice cream now, I know it's a conscious decision to feel like shit tomorrow.
That's right. And at least I know what I'm going to feel right so I can prep for it. It's the same thing, prepping for flights, right? Coming over to South Africa on like 27, 28 hours of traveling. I've got my activated charcoal with me. I've got my glutathione with me. I've prepared my body to go through that stress. See, and that's the world of biohacking. That's hacking your body for a specific result. The first thing I got when I landed here is I bought a ton of aloe vera. I bought astragalus. I bought albizia. I bought these herbs, right? But it's botanical medicine that's going to help my body just adapt a little bit faster.
And where did you buy that?
At a little health shop in Hermanus.
And how do you know that that's not bullshit that you bought?
Because go on PubMed.
And they showed you that stuff was cool.
Go on PubMed.gov and put in something like astragalus or albizia.
No, but I know that's good. How do you know the little bottle that you purchased actually has all of that stuff and you can trust that bottle?
Because it's one plant and it's alcohol extracted, right? Okay. So you don't get a lot of alcohol. It's negligible, but it's extracted. And that's the best process to do it, right? Okay. I sat listening to Dr. Mitch Coven.
But that bottle that you bought, how do you know that company... Because there's like dodgy free-range eggs out there and dodgy free-range chickens.
Sure. How do I know the ones I bought in South Africa is pure? Yeah. Honestly, I don't, but I'll take my chances.
Okay.
Whereas our company called The Wellness Way in America, right? I know...
You and your wife.
We have... Well, it's not just me and my wife. It's a massive group of doctors. We're about 52 different clinics in the entire America. But we source our own products. So I know the products that I'm selling is extremely high quality. I've listened to the owner of the company a couple of times at different keynotes, like different events. And the guy was a medical doctor practicing botanical medicine, not pharmaceutical medicine. And so he was helping people with plants. See, that's how our ancestors helped people with plants. We have gone away from living off nature or knowing what plants do what for us. The fact is, even something stupid like aspirin, where did aspirin come from? See, just go into the history of these things. Where did aspirin come from? Willow bark. You can go buy willow bark and it'll give you the exact same effect as aspirin without the negative side effects.
And you talked about cholesterol pills. What does cholesterol pills do to you? Because we were talking about that 6 months ago. What does cholesterol? Not that I have bad cholesterol, but
cholesterol is basically the biggest myth, right? That there's such a thing as real bad cholesterol. Cholesterol serves a specific function inside the human body. In actual fact, the precursor of every single hormone down the hormone pathway, right, gets done by cholesterol. So when somebody has high cholesterol, it's not the cholesterol's fault that it's high. That's an effect. That's not the cause. So taking a medication to push the number down, and the medication will push the number down. But when we talk about if it works or not, we're talking if it decreases heart disease. Nope. It'll push your number down, but you'll actually increase your chance of heart disease by something like 2.6 times or something like that. Because cholesterol is essential for your brain function.
But who said that cholesterol is bad for you? Where did this myth come about? A pharmaceutical company?
Yep. Bayer Pharmaceutical, those people, they did studies on it and went, people with heart disease have high cholesterol. So let's shut down cholesterol and see if it reduces heart disease. The problem is, though, it's the same thing with aspirin, right? There was one study done by Bayer Pharmaceuticals 40, 50 years ago showing that aspirin, right, had a beneficial effect on the heart. The crazy part is that people just believe instead of reading the entire paper. And that's why a lot of people can't read through these papers, because you got to read through it. And they've basically proven that paper was completely falsified because all the little aspirin pills were coated with magnesium oxide. And magnesium has been shown beyond a shadow of a doubt to have a very beneficial effect on the cardiovascular function in the human population. So
we're cheating.
So they were cheating to get a specific result.
Yeah.
And then this thing became huge where they go, for men with a risk of cardiovascular disease, everybody should take aspirin. Is that true anymore? Why? Because enough people in America fought the FDA, and you can go pull up the whole PDF if you want.
What's the FDA?
It's called the Food and Drug Administration. So the FDA in America is what regulates everything, but it's a very bad regulatory system because money talks.
Okay.
It's almost like here in South Africa. If you have enough money and you want to build your house a little bit higher and onerous, just pay them under the table.
It's the same here in Stellenbosch. You're not allowed to go higher than 2 stories, I think, or 3 stories. And there are a few people that are building.
Because money talks, man. So it's the same thing in America, you know. And that's why ads for milk, like milk makes your bones strong, is completely illegal now in the States. Because we know it doesn't.
Because it's almost like these old wives' tales.
Yeah.
It's like when you broke a bone, like put a cast on, and you told me, no, don't put a cast on. Rather put like the bandages or the sling, because there's still movement, and movement is good.
Movement is good.
Which is so weird because, again, I asked Seth, I have back problems. And you said I might have a broken back at some point.
Who
Possibly.
knows?
But then
you've never had x-rays. So.
I've never had x-rays. So I have back problems and I cut trees down. And then after a day of cutting trees down, I feel better the next day. As opposed to if I lie in bed for 2 or 3 days resting, like a lot of people would say, I feel terrible. If at least every day I went for a walk or I actually did strenuous exercise, I feel better and less stiff the next day.
Do you think you're the only person to feel that?
No.
With age, most people feel the way you feel. Why? movement and pain scientifically have an inverse relationship. That means, right, if the joints in your spine, right, if the movement inside certain joints are being inhibited, they're not working, your pain response is going to increase, right? And should I go into detail on this matter?
No, let's just keep it simple.
Let's keep it super simple, right? So it's got an inverse. Think about tipping scales. So if you increase movement, you decrease pain.
And is inflammation involved in that process?
If you increase movement, you decrease the inflammatory response. The problem that people don't realize is that every joint in your body is chemically sensitive as well. So if you eat ice cream on a daily basis, it's also going to inhibit that joint function. And people don't realize that. It's like every joint in the body is chemically sensitive. Not just movement sensitive, it is movement sensitive as well. That's why movement gives you such a beneficial outcome. And movement is a raw ingredient to the human brain. It is a raw ingredient. I think about movement like an ingredient that you need to sustain this meat suit, to keep doing what you want to do. If you become older and you become arthritic and there's like degeneration and you know those types of things in the spine, and you wake up in the morning, there's going to be stiffness, there's going to be a little bit of aching. When you start moving, for most people, those things start working its way out.
Is that why yoga is so good? Because it's stretching, combining movement.
Yes. Yoga is extremely good because it does give you a little bit of meditation at the end, which a lot of people don't get. You know, most people don't take 10 minutes to meditate, and they should.
Just quickly, I never liked Ed Sheeran because there was this hype about him. And I saw him the other day at a show on television.
Yeah.
And I was blown away by what this guy does. And I saw him in an interview today. He doesn't have a cell phone. He literally operates on email only. Like, that's it. Like, if you want to get hold of Ed Sheeran, email him or go speak to his agent. He doesn't have a telephone. Because he says he would wake up in the morning, 50 messages, and none of them starts with, how you doing? All of them is, can you do this? Can I, and he's like, I just want to cut off from that. Like, I don't need any of that. I just want to make my music. And I'm guilty of that too. I'm so involved with items and shit the whole time.
Well, so it's actually cool that that's what he does. And here's why. We grew up playing in bands. We grew up being very creative type of people, right? And creativeness is essential to my life and is essential to your life. How can you be creative when you're stressed out? So when he picks up that cell phone, right, and he starts reading these messages, it's not like, hey, Ed, I just want to wish you a fucking amazing day, dude. You rock. You're brilliant. Like, you're awesome. No, it's like, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Do this, do this. So it's all reactive behavior if you think about it, right? It's reactiveness.
And then it starts in the head.
Well, the blood flow in the brain actually shifts from your prefrontal cortex, right, to your hindbrain, because that's where the sympathetic stress response is going to happen. And you can't be creative being stressed out like that. That's why, even for my patients, I talk about morning routines. I talk about meditation. I talk about switching psychedelics. Not joking when I talk about these things. I talk about all these very controversial things because it works. If somebody, right, is waking up in the morning and they're just checking their cell phone or emails, it's reactive behavior. Every human being should have a reference point to have a great day. So when I talk about reference point, right, you need to wake up, and there's no cookie cutter method for this, by the way. People have to figure this shit out for themselves. How do you want to start your day? Always start, like I've had mentors sit down with me, right, and write down, what does your ideal day look like? And especially the morning, right? Because you want to get yourself happy. You want to work on yourself a little bit. If you don't work on yourself, you're going to have to work your ass off later on in life working on yourself.
Yeah.
And this might not pertain to everybody, but for me, it does. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people that will be listening to this has gone through a lot of emotional and physical trauma in their life. You know, I grew up, I was a super, super obese kid. I went through bullying, more emotional stuff when I was younger. molested as a child. I mean, I went through all this stuff. And eventually, as an adult, you got to start working on these things. Because otherwise, your emotional state of being will be completely out of whack.
And that influences all relationships,
Everything, you know, and even with our clinic and what we do, right? We have a simple 3T approach. Traumas, toxins, and thoughts. Trauma to the body causes inflammation. Toxins in the body causes inflammation. And stinking thinking can also cause inflammation. That's called the nocebo effect. And it's also been studied, by the way.
And trauma, you mean physical and emotional and mental?
Trauma, yes.
All of the above.
All of the above, right? It just depends from person to person. It's like when I work with rugby players and I work with a lot of international guys and I help them with the nutrition, lab works, all these different things. You're not meant to go through whiplash car accidents on a weekly basis. Something's got to give eventually. You know, we're not meant to go through that type of whiplash trauma.
And I would really ask people to watch the movie with Will Smith called Concussion, because I think it shows it in a nice way. And the amount of medical practitioners I've talked to that do not know what it means CTE. It is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's people that are in the medical field in various ways. And I've told my wife, if I die one day, please cut open my brain. I would not be surprised to see if I have a little bit of CTE. And it might explain certain behaviors, certain thought processes, and just the way that I perform.
What's cool, you know, and 50 years ago, the medical profession did not believe that the brain can actually regenerate itself. Now we know for a fact that your brain can regenerate yourself. So with the right stuff over time, you can actually fix a lot of these things.
But right stuff means lifestyle, nutrition.
Right stuff means lifestyle, basics, basic healthy living 101. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Okay, so I'm going to go through this because I know that we're talking about being healthy, but I'm going to try and break it down in healthy living for dummies.
Okay.
Because this is what we were doing.
Yeah.
And it's so, like, I'm not a dumb guy, guys. Like, you can go check my IQ, you can check my education, obviously by me talking. But it's crazy to see the unhealthy patterns that I have in my life and the basic stuff that we've had to change. And the reason it's difficult, because you were talking about becoming healthy. Now, certain stuff is easier than other things, like the emotional, mental thing, the psychotherapy. That's very hard and it's long term. There's certain things that are easy, but again, sustaining that is difficult. Like I can do clean eating, but like after a month or two, when my six pack comes out, I'm like, fucking, maybe I'm going to have a bit of a, and it's about sustaining. But anyway, I'm going to go through this.
Yeah.
Healthy lifestyle. If you want to say it starts the night before, because it's obviously sleeping, but let's just say it starts in the morning. So waking up, how many hours did you need? So how do you calculate how many? Because you said maybe for me, a big guy needs 10 to 12 hours. How this 8 hour a day for everyone? What is that?
So I don't mind the 8 hours a day, but always remember when you hear things like that, it's averages. It's
like an aeroplane seat.
That's
for
right.
The average person.
It's for the average person. It doesn't work for me, and I'm sure it doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
So, because we're bigger people. So you got to think about it like that too. When you work with somebody, there's got to be individuality to it, right? There can't be a cookie cutter thing that we're going to do.
Because I read that Roger Federer needs 12 hours sleep a night, I think.
Well, with the amount of exercise he does, it's probably very beneficial for him.
Yeah.
So it depends on how much energy you're exerting.
But is that physical, mental, and emotional then?
Yes.
And spiritual?
It always is. Yeah, I go physical, mental, emotional. Spiritual sort of falls into my emotional character category for me, just to make it simple.
Yeah.
But what I would say is for the average person, 8 hours. Now, if you're sick with cancer or you have low testosterone, you might need a little bit of extra sleep, right? Because that's what happened with me too. Because like 2 years ago, I tested my testosterone and it was tanked. And I also had all the stress of starting a business, not really dealing well with the stuff from my childhood, you know, now being married, and things change. things change and you have to adapt.
Yeah.
And so there's things you can do to actually counteract the stress and get back to normal, to get back to homeostasis. But back to your point, sleep is great, but for some people we need more, some people need less.
Because I've heard some people 4 hours is enough.
But
cool.
Quality means more than quantity when we talk about sleep.
Okay.
So when we talk about quality sleep, right, you should not be able to see your hand in front of your face. Number one, it should be dark. Number two, you can't watch TV before you go to bed.
What happens if that...
That's right.
So television isn't a big problem these days. Telephones is a big problem these days. So talk about those two.
So it's...
What effect that has on the brain, on the hormones
Perfect.
prior to sleep.
Right. So when you go to bed, you want to put your cell phone on airplane mode. Because there's constantly EMF waves going from a tower signal back to your phone. And it will affect your brain in the long run, right? It's been shown to do that in peer-reviewed literature. So general rule of thumb, always airplane mode. What does it do to your brain though? See, and this is why Apple has actually come out, right, on your Apple phones. If you go into settings, it's called a night shift. And it actually does the whole orange screen because it takes away the blue flickering light that's inside it. So it's the blue light that gets stimulated. Even a computer screen, TV screen, and cell phone, it's flickers, right? It's constant. So therefore, your brain goes into a hyperactive state, right? You're getting a sympathetic response. You're getting a stress response from being on a phone or watching TV. So that's why for a lot of people, when they do those behaviors before sleep, they can't sleep.
So let's not maybe call it a stress response. Let's just call it a awakening response. There's responses going around.
That's right.
And it's not supposed to.
It's not. You're waking your brain up, right? So you're telling your brain, listen here, dude, I'm awake now.
It's
so
like me kicking you while you're trying to sleep.
So I need hormones that's going to keep me awake. I need epinephrine, right? I need those things to stay awake now. So therefore, your melatonin doesn't get stimulated. The sleeping hormones don't get stimulated, and you can't sleep, and you wonder why you have insomnia. So a couple of ways to counteract that, right? For your laptop, there's literally a program called Flux that everybody can download for free, and it'll literally do that automatically. It'll basically do that screen for you.
At night,
right? You can do the same thing.
And is that then fine to watch?
Yes.
Because
define fine.
Well, obviously stopping that reaction in the head. For me, if I watch South Park at night, as soon as you put that on, I'll probably fall asleep within 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It relaxes me, seeing the cartoons, hearing those not irritating, but those voices. And that makes me fall asleep.
Well, what about it makes you fall asleep?
I don't know. It's a routine thing.
There we go.
It relaxes me.
It's probably something you did when you were very young too.
Yeah.
So it's
I've been doing it for about 15, 20 years.
So it's a sense of comfort.
Okay.
It's not a very good comfort though, because it will affect your hormones.
All right.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
I was the same way. I loved falling asleep in front of a TV. Right? I've stopped it completely. It takes a little bit to get used to it. But you sleep a lot better. You wake up the next morning, you feel refreshed. You don't feel groggy. So
reading a book
is fine.
Is that the ultimate thing to do?
Ultimate thing is
or listening to music.
Music works, book works. Those types of behaviors work, like 100%. But you can also buy blue blocking glasses. So I've got a bunch of pairs of blue blockers, right? Like for my computer, for my house or whatever.
At all times or just in the evenings?
I wear mine at all times when I'm on a computer screen because I just go next level on that shit. But yeah, but pretty much at all times. You know, when I'm on a computer screen, because I know it's not going to have a positive feedback loop in my eyes. See, when you look at the sun, right, or you stand outside in nature and there's light.
Yeah.
Remember, your biological system is very sensitive to lights and sounds. It really, really is. So the natural light will cause cellular damage of the eyes, but it'll produce a positive feedback loop to heal itself. Whereas when you stare at a computer screen, it damages the eyes, but it doesn't do a positive feedback loop to heal.
Okay.
Because it's artificial.
So we're going quite deep into this, and I want to go more. So at night, ideally at what time? Because you were saying that if you fall asleep at a certain time, there's certain things that start happening. So ideally at about 10 o'clock, you want to be asleep?
For men, I would say a little bit earlier, right?
So 9.
10 is fine. 10 is perfect.
And
right?
then obviously 8 to 10 hours sleep?
Yeah.
Or 6 to 10?
I would say about 6 to 10, depending on what's happening clinically or what's happening with a person.
You want it completely dark and fairly quiet?
Yes.
And then that means quality sleep.
That means
and
quality
what
sleep.
happens if you fall asleep at the right time biologically?
Well, so biologically, I'm going to go back to this term holism. We are part of this universe, all of us. We're so interconnected. So there's a sun and moon for a reason, and there's a whole cycle, right, happening for a reason. We're meant to go to bed when the sun goes down, and we're meant to wake up when the sun comes up. That's how we would have done it 40,000 years ago. Unfortunately, that's not how most people live anymore. But when it comes to that sleep pattern, for men, I normally like a little bit earlier because that's when all the growth hormones and the testosterone and everything is going to be nicely balanced and actually produced. Right? Because that's
when you're sleeping.
Yeah. Because that's your regenerative state. Sleep is regeneration to the human body. Because that's when cellular turnover and all these things actually happen. Right? So sleep is huge when we talk about health. For females, they might get away with going to bed a little bit later, but they should also sleep a little bit later.
All right.
Like always, with all my females with hormonal imbalances that me and my wife work with, that we do, we always tell them, like, sleep till 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. Don't wake up before that, depending on what time they go to bed.
Then, when you wake up, ideally, how long do you want to wait before you start drinking and eating?
So the biggest thing I would say, I'm not even concerned with that. The biggest thing I would say is do not start your bloody day with reactive behavior. Like, wake up. Also, your alarm matters. These alarms that scream in your ear will have a big cortisol response. You'll have a big stress response. Because now you're sleeping. And you're like, okay.
So you want something calm waking up?
Yeah. My favorite thing that I have is a light alarm. So it literally gradually increases the light on your side of bed. And you'll be like, okay, there's the light, nice and peaceful.
And that literally wakes you up?
Oh, absolutely.
From your phone?
I have a Philips light alarm.
Okay.
Like, it's called a light alarm.
Amazon,
everything. Amazon is taking over the world, though.
But it is awesome.
But it is. Because it doesn't give you that stress response.
Okay.
So for me, I'll do that. Then
but if I have a relaxing song on my phone, is that...
That's fine. Yeah, like a relaxing song on your phone. Just don't play heavy metal to wake up to.
Yeah.
Right? Let's keep that for the afternoon and evenings.
So
or the gym.
So that's it.
So yes, and then I would say, so for me, the first thing I do is I drink like 1 or 2 like nice glasses of water.
So on the water topic,
yeah,
how do you calculate how much water or liquids you should have per day? Every 40 kilograms, a liter? Or?
There's a couple of different equations. There's no perfect science to it because I did. It's crazy. So last year, every year we try a couple of different workshops. We try a couple of like educational stuff for our community, and I actually did one on water. And it was the most boring shit I've done in my life, and I'll never do it again. I will never, ever in my life do a workshop on the topic water. Because it's just basic stuff that people should know. And if people don't know it, I get a little bit angry. I'm like, come on. There's no perfect science to it. Okay? I don't think we need to overdrink water either. Right? Because it's going to shut down the salt levels. And for everybody listening, salt is actually very beneficial for us. Okay?
And my doctor actually said to me the other day with my vertigo, she looked at me, she's like, okay, you need some weight loss and a little bit less salt, please. And then she's like, okay, get out of my office.
Great advice. Salt is very beneficial, and here's why, right? Go into any basic...
But the type of salt.
The type of salt matters, yes, but any basic physiological textbook. You have sodium, potassium pumps all over your body and your brain. That does everything. Take salt away, and you're going to die, pretty much. But the type of salt does matter, because the salt they've shown that's like table salt, there's a lot of added fillers. They found aluminium. That's the South African way to say it, right? I've been in America for so long. But they literally have found that in it.
So sea salt, Himalayan salt.
Sea salt, Himalayan salt, those work. I really like sea salt, because again, it's straight from Himalayan salt is great too, right?
But coming on to the water, because I wanted to break it down for dummies, for myself as well.
Yeah.
So on average 2 to 4 liters a day.
Yeah.
And coffee counts towards liquids.
Coffee does not count towards liquids. Tea does.
And Coca-Cola, juice, does that count as liquids?
Nope.
That counts as heroin. As crack to your body. Yeah. So literally water counts as liquid.
Water water.
Energade, Powerade?
Nope. No.
That doesn't count.
Just go read the ingredients. So this would be fun, right, for anybody listening. Just take your Powerade, go read the ingredients, and go Google every single ingredient. That's what I tell my athletes, right? When my athletes go, but what, like, there's sucralose in here, there's aspartame in here, there's this in here, and I go, just do yourself a favor. Take some fucking responsibility and just go through the list and go, okay, what does this do? What does this do? What does this do? And I believe in self-responsibility, because whatever you're putting inside your body is your responsibility in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, you have to take responsibility for what you're doing as well. And that's
bullshit. And then, is it good to drink water within the first 15, 20 minutes of being awake?
Yes.
Why? Because I've heard this.
Why? It's just extremely good for your body, because you've just gone through 8 to 10 hours of not drinking any liquids, right? So the first thing you want to do is put a basic ingredient into your system. And it's a basic raw requirement, right? Because something like 60 or 70% of the human body is water. So just that 1 or 2 cups will increase your metabolism. So for people who wants to lose weight as well, it'll literally spike your metabolism. It'll just get everything lubricated and everything working nicely.
So what happens if your first thing you drink is coffee?
You're probably tanking your adrenal glands in the long run.
So how long do you wait until you drink coffee?
So funny enough, I actually got away from drinking coffee on a regular basis this year. It's been a long-term goal of mine, because I grew up just drinking coffee.
Yeah, with Mari Biscakis.
Yeah. And I've had to really go, okay, shit, let me look at myself, you know. And so the hormones were a little bit wonky. I fixed that. And my circulation was a little bit funky. So I had to fix my coffee drinking habit, because this will tank your circulatory system as well.
And
right?
what I've done, like after we spoke, so he said Nescafe, coffee, any instant coffee, see it as poison.
Yeah.
Have French press, espresso, whatever. And since doing that, I only do it at certain times of the day, and I never thought I would go 4 or 5 days without coffee. And I've come to realize it's almost like sugar. So a few years, I haven't had sugar in my coffee for like 5 years. I cut out sugar a long time ago. And when I do that extremely, if I drink a Coke, I realize how shit Coca-Cola is for me. And I feel terrible. Now, once I started cutting out coffee and I start drinking coffee, I realized the power of coffee.
Yep.
And I actually realized that I actually feel pretty good if I don't have coffee. And nowadays, I see coffee as almost having a beer in a social environment.
Well, yeah, and it's the same with me. You know, it was a long-term goal of mine to just get off of coffee. It was just a very hard thing for me to do. Like sugar, I've done that for about 15 years almost now, so that's quite easy.
Yeah.
So practice makes perfect, you know.
So if you look at Seth, he's got 15, 20 years of being a professional athlete, semi-professional, and eating clean. So a lot of this stuff is easier for him, but it's like in 15 years, if I practice this...
It's not really easier. It's just practice. Because... So my whole epiphany is because I was such a big, like, I'm going to say fat kid.
Boy.
When my dad died from a heart attack when I was like 12 years old.
And he was how old? Your dad?
47.
Unhealthy guy.
Not according to the medical system, Adva. Because you can ask my mom. We just had this conversation, right? Like my mom was literally telling my wife the entire story.
Yeah.
Right? About my dad and all the little details. And he was at a doctor and cardiologist office, and he did an EKG. He did all those things, I think like a month before he died from a heart attack. And then when my mom told their general practitioner, the GP, that my dad died from a heart attack, he couldn't believe it. He was like, that's insane, because every doctor told him, if you die, it will not be from a heart thing. And so something in me switched, and I just went, well, I really don't want to end up in those shoes, right? And I'm not going to say he was healthy, because according to me, he was extremely unhealthy.
Yeah.
But according to the current lifestyle in South Africa, he's just doing what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
He's just normally doing what everybody else is doing. So that was a big moment in my life where I had to take a step back and go, okay, let's start looking at different avenues.
So coffee, and then you also said to me, ideally not more than 2 coffees a day.
Ideally not more than 2 cups of coffee. But here's the problem. Do you know what a cup of coffee in America looks like, man?
I don't know. Is it like that supersize me?
It's not this shit. I can tell you that, yeah. Like a regular cup of coffee in America is double the size.
Like Starbucks venti coffees type of thing. All right, but we're not doing that. Again, we can do another 400 podcasts. I listened the other day to some professional nutritionist, the guy that does Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the beneficial effects of having caffeine in your system post-workout almost immediately. But then they were talking about even doing it in capsules rather than...
Well, yes. There's
but let's not go down
there's numerous ways to get caffeine into the system.
And the positive effects. Okay. So stay away from coffee if possible.
If possible, if you are going to do coffee... good quality matters when we talk about coffee. Like we spoke, quality matters with every food on this planet. Sick animal, sick human being. Very simple, right? If you're drinking crappy coffee, you're probably going to get a crappy result, right? And when I say crappy coffee is some of the most molded food in the world. Coffee molds on the inside of the bean. So you can't see it. You can't taste it. But it doesn't mean it's not there. So coffee, the quality really matters. If you are going to do coffee, right, mix some good stuff in there to get your energy levels up.
But you know what's ironic? We drink coffee to help us wake up and be more productive. But if you sleep better, if you eat better, that is there. You don't need coffee. It's like I need steroids, but it's like even steroids will destroy your body in a way.
Oh, yes. I've personally been a lot more productive without coffee than on coffee, because a lot of times I'll drink the coffee and I'll have this energy spike for a couple of hours and I'll be like, ugh.
So we are drinking coffee at some point. Obviously for Leslie, that's probably going to listen at some point, we would avoid cigarettes.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's get into a controversial subject real quick.
No, let's keep it, because we're going so scattered that people are like, fuck that. We're gonna talk about, obviously then you want to go to work, you want to eat. There's intermittent fasting that you can research that sometimes helps you. Would you say, I know this is difficult, roughly 3 times a day you want to eat every 4 to 6 hours, something like that?
Less is more. And here's why. There's a lot of athletes that eat 7 to 10 times a day.
Especially those bodybuilders.
It'll destroy you. Your system, your enteric nervous system, right? Your whole GI tract, everything else. It's not meant to eat food 10 times a day. In actual fact, it's only meant 2 or 3 meals a day. Just think about the human genome. We talked about genetics 40 to 60,000 years ago. How much food would we have readily available then?
Fucking nothing.
Fucking nothing. We'd have to walk. On average, they walked about 12 miles a day, number one. What human being gets that in?
No.
10,000 steps on a Fitbit. Getting my steps in.
Put it on my dog.
Yeah. And then when you go to the bra, you're like, hey guys, 25,000 steps right here. Sorry. I think I think it's bullshit. But in any case, So we wouldn't have food readily available. We'd have to go gather, right? That's why they called us hunter-gatherers.
Yeah.
We'd have to go gather food. So a lot of times we'd go walk, we'd go try and find berries, we'd try and find whatever we could, but then the men would go hunt. And how would we hunt? Did we have guns?
No.
No. So and that's cool because we are the only animal, and if somebody can correct me, please do, but I do still think this, and I do think I'm right. I think we are one of the only animals on the planet that actually has a very advanced sweat system, because we can outrun almost anything in this world because of our endurance. So we would actually flank, like bisons, we would flank these animals and outrun them to exhaustion. That's how we would do it before we invented weapons. Because they don't sweat.
All right.
It's like dogs don't sweat. Right, so we can actually outrun a lot of these animals because we do have a system.
And we don't overheat.
That's right. We have a system that makes us not overheat.
And
that's quite cool.
If you want to look at that topic in 101, go to one of these cheetah sanctuaries.
Yeah.
And a lot of the cheetahs, I think, die because they have bigger black spots on them and they just overheat.
Well,
and there's a variety of cheetahs, and again, high performance, short time after that.
Yeah.
So
you
don't want to eat a lot.
So on my point, no, and you always want, when you eat, you always want to feel refreshed. You almost want to feel light after a meal.
Never want to feel heavy.
You don't want to feel heavy, and that's a very simple thing to do.
But so do you only eat when you feel hungry, or do you avoid eating when you feel hungry? Because I know a lot of people there, like the body's gotten used to just getting shit in all the time. So if you break that pattern, which takes about a week to 2 weeks, your body starts changing where it needs food every now and again, which means also don't eat at specific times. Just eat when you really feel like you need it.
That's right. Unless you're getting paid millions of dollars to look a certain way, to be on movies or calendars or that, then yes, this advice will be counterintuitive. Yeah, it's almost non-relevant. But for the average person, like 100%. You can eat whenever you want during the day. It doesn't really matter when you get nutrients in. Like, the nutrients does matter that you get in. But all I'm saying is there's no hard science on when to eat.
Yeah.
But intermittent fasting is extremely beneficial, especially in men.
And that means
with hormone issues.
Not eating for about 16 hours.
So the typical is 16 to 18 hours. That's the optimal level.
Yeah.
If you get hangry, you're sick.
Hangry meaning hungry and angry.
You're sick. You should be able to go without food almost like a whole day, and it shouldn't phase you that much.
Yeah.
Right? It really shouldn't. If it phases you and you get hangry or you get moody, you know there's some serious dysfunction happening in your gut.
You don't want to eat at least 2 hours before bed. So let's say you go to sleep at 10 o'clock. What is the last time that you want to eat ideally?
7 o'clock.
So 3 hours prior to falling asleep. What happens if you eat an hour before you sleep?
Then your body and your system has to really overwork on digesting the food when you sleep instead of regenerating the body and the system.
Okay.
So just think about things very simple, okay? And even with food, think about things very simple. You have a sympathetic and parasympathetic system in the body, okay? Your sympathetic is when you're fighting like Muhammad Ali or running like Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
Your parasympathetic is when you're chilling, when you're resting and digesting, right? And it's the same thing when I work with a lot of athletes. You can't eat a big meal before you go exercise, because if you eat a big meal, you're going to have your parasympathetic system, right, elevated. Now you want to go work out and you're trying to push your sympathetics up, because that's what working out does, right? Like sprinting or fighting or whatever. So you want to have a good balance between those two systems. And so that's when it comes in with food and those types of things.
Cool. What do you want to drink just before you go to bed? What's the last time you want to drink? How much do you want to drink?
So I try and get most of my water in before 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Why?
Because if you forget to drink water all day and now you're pounding the amount of water you should be drinking at night.
How many liters do you do?
I do 4 liters a day.
Okay, by 4 o'clock ideally.
Let's say 3 to 4 liters, right, on average.
And I asked you, if you do extremely strenuous exercise and you sweat a lot, it stays at 3 to 4 liters.
Same, yeah. You don't really need more than that, because a lot of the beneficial nutrition, like even water, you can get you get a little bit of hydration in vegetables, and you get a little bit of hydration in like salads and those types of things, you know. So some of the food will actually hydrate you as well, which is quite cool. But 3 to 4 liters for a guy my size is perfect.
At 4 o'clock, and then from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock?
About 4 to 5 o'clock, right?
Okay.
That's about when I get done. And then I might have like 1 or 2 glasses of water after that. But I see those as bonus. And I don't chug a lot of water. And here's why. Because when you get older, for a lot of people, the bladder sphincters and those things don't work as well. So now you're going to wake up 3 or 4 times a night to go pee, which means you're breaking quality sleep. So it's so much easier just to get it out of the way earlier. So when you sleep, you don't have to worry about getting up and peeing, getting up and peeing, getting up and peeing.
So if you wake up at night having to pee, that means you're having a shit sleep. Or not necessarily.
Once is okay.
Yeah.
If it's like 3 plus. So, and for certain people, it's not a water thing. It's an actual bladder dysfunction thing.
Yeah.
You know, or for men, when they get older, a lot of men get prostate hypertrophy, where the prostate like begins...
What does older mean? 40?
Dude, I would say it depends on how much stress the person has gone through in their lifetime.
Okay.
I would say, so when I talk about age and I go through my workshops with people in education, I tell them there's a difference between chronological age and biological age.
Okay.
That's why some people at 40 look like they've gone through a train wreck of a life.
Yeah.
And some people at 40 look like they can pull off a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference between biological age of the human body and chronological age, right? It's so old it just means how much stress has gone into that biology and have broken down the biology of the person.
And then that last 2 hours of being awake, you want to cut out lights as much as possible. Because I saw that with, again, it was easy when Anya, my wife, wasn't home. But basically, and that was in the winter. So at about 7 o'clock, I would have one light on, like a lamp in the house.
Yeah.
And then I would bring in candles as opposed to electrical lights.
And that's brilliant, because it's the same thing, guys. Just think about the light you get from sun versus the light you get from a computer. One's natural, one's artificial. The artificial light is not going to jive well with the biology. And again, there's a lot of peer-reviewed publications on how light affects human biology, which is crazy because these are things nobody even knows about. So even in my clinic, I spent all the time in the world replacing all the light bulbs. And I did old incandescent orange light. So my entire clinic is these old incandescent lights. So incandescent is the old filaments, you know, where the electricity just heats them up and they stay lit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the new LEDs is hydrogen and mercury combining and clashing. And that's giving you the light. That's why with a lot of the new lights, it literally says on the box, if you break it, you got to call poison control. So that they can come in with hazmat suits and clean up the place. So no shit, it can't be that good for you. If imagine if that thing breaks in front of you and you breathe it in.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, there are people, you can go read their stories. It's bad.
And can you get addicted to some of those lights, like on the telephone, on the computer? Does your mind get addicted to that stuff? Is there research, I think, currently going on that?
There is a couple of studies, and don't paraphrase, this is a little bit I don't 100% know, but I've read 1 or 2 studies that have shown that it does affect the neurotransmitters in the brain. So, and the studies they obviously do the one study was on men watching porn, right, literally. And they basically showed that by watching pornography, that the actual happy hormones got so elevated, that's why the real experience doesn't cut it anymore.
Okay.
Because it's an overstimulation of those neurotransmitters, right? Because again, you're not meant to, I'm just going to say it, you probably won't have sex 8 hours of the day. Yet when some children are young, right, and they don't know what they're doing, and they live by themselves, they'll watch porn 3 to 5 times a day. So they're stimulating without actually having to do anything, which means you get that the feedback when the real thing is happening, and it doesn't get to those same levels.
And the reward system of getting some without having
but
to
that's part of the chemistry. That's part of the brain chemistry. So if it's addictive, I don't know. I would logically say yes, I think it is.
Yeah.
Because
psychological and physical.
Because I look up very weird stuff, and I mean, even if you look at the patent of the TV, I'm not going to tell you what it says. Just go look up the patent of a television. You'd be very scared when you look at the patent.
Okay.
Because the first thing it says doesn't call it a television. It calls it something completely different.
Okay.
Just go look it up.
All right. Cool. We can talk about this more. Going back to exercise, we were talking about having a mix of cardiovascular versus strength. And
so exercise matters, movement matters to the human being. Every single person should move every single day of their life. Walking is not an exercise. It's just a normal biological ingredient that should happen. It's a primal movement.
So exercise would be something that pushes up your heart rate and creates you sweating.
Correct. 100%. Now, exercise for men and women should be different. And here's why. When you have a man and you go through puberty and your testosterone goes up, it should plateau, right? And pretty much stay the same. It should not decrease when you get older. It's such a myth. It should remain the same. Unless you're eating stuff and you're causing these inflammatory responses or these stress responses where it's going to tank, right, over time. Females have 4 different personalities in 1 month. They do. And I'm not saying that I'm not sexist at all. It's not my personality. But there's different stages, right, in their hormones.
Little crazy, medium crazy, very...
No, but I... So for every man on this planet, you're dealing with 4 different personalities in 1 month. And you have to understand that, and it's okay.
I think this is a different can of worms. Especially, you're going to go back to America and get a lot of shit for this.
No. I'm not. No.
You guys are quite conservative and liberal over there.
Yeah, but every person...
What's the 4 personalities? What's the names?
So the first phase, you're essentially under construction.
Okay.
Right? That's when it's no go. Right? You can't do anything in the bedroom.
Okay.
That's under construction.
Okay.
Right? So these are all the ovulation phases.
And you mean different personalities because of the hormone changes?
Because the hormones are completely different.
It's like when I'm stressed, I'm a different personality versus when I'm relaxed.
Exactly. And then you become chronically stressed and your testosterone goes a little bit low, and then your energy level sucks and you can't lose weight and blah, blah, blah. It affects you. It really affects you, right? So for females in that first week when they're under construction, they don't want to do any high intensity type of stuff. You don't. Because the hormones aren't there to support that type of workout. That's why, and I'm just going to say this, athletes that I work with are the most unhealthy people. Because we do stuff and we do shit to our bodies when we're young without thinking. Like me, I swallowed so many different pre-workouts and post-workouts and all this
creatine
and all this stuff. Yeah. Now creatine really isn't bad, by the way, if it's sourced from a plant. It comes from plants.
But isn't there the amounts that you have to take?
That's right. So there's
and protein supplement drinks.
Exactly. Well, whey protein, because we grow up on whey protein, which is dairy, and it's the protein that's the inflammatory reaction, not the fats. It's always so you're just screwing up your system over time without really realizing it.
Yeah.
But bottom line is that
constructive, and then you guys are fucking up your body as professional athletes.
Yeah.
So stay away from high intensity. Then the second phase.
So in the second phase, right, when everything is repairing and healing, then we can start upping the intensity a little bit, right?
So what's the second phase called?
So I don't know the exact name. I
Yeah.
just break it up into like 1, 2, 3, right?
Okay.
It's got like follicular stage, but my wife does most of that type of stuff with the females. I don't.
Yeah.
I just tell them, here's how you work out, right?
Okay.
Week 1, under construction, don't go too rough, right? You can do yoga. You can do a little bit of weightlifting, right? You can do that type of stuff.
Mild stuff.
But don't go sprint for 30 minutes, like 30-second sprint, 30-second rest, 30-second sprint, 30-second rest. Week 2, you can do any of those things. Week 3, you want to take a chill pill again. And week 4, you can go for it.
And this is all ages.
Yes, this is all ages. And hormones support your quality of life. It really does, right? Yeah. When we as human beings lose the ability to procreate through hormones being out of whack, your body doesn't care that much about you anymore.
So, and you said that I will probably have hard time procreating at the moment.
Absolutely.
With my hormone levels.
100%.
Okay, let's get back to exercise. So, a variation between high intensity, low intensity. You want to have 7 days a week that you get a bit of exercise?
Yeah, and when we say exercise, it doesn't have to be like, like crazy exercise.
Burpees.
Yeah.
What's the benefit of burpees? Is it one of the best exercises you can do?
If you don't have back problems, yes.
Is it? What makes it so good?
It's a full body movement. So when we break up primal movement patterns in a human being, right? We got 7. Gait, G-A-I-T, which is just normal walking and running. That's a primal movement pattern. Squatting, lunging, pushing, pulling, twisting, and bending. Right. So what are you getting in a burpee? A squat, a push. You're basically getting a pull from the jump. You're getting a couple of those in one type of exercise.
Okay.
And it's a full body movement, which is way better than isolation exercises. See,
which is like biceps.
Bicep curls are cool if you want to look cool on the beach, but but it's not really going to help you be a functional human being.
Michael Bisping said the other day that Joe Rogan asked him, like, are you still training? He's like, I'm doing the vanity workout, like biceps and push-ups. He's like, it's just there to look cool.
Which isn't bad if you're constantly like him on TV and all these different things, right? I mean, the guy must portray a certain image. Yeah. It's just part of the gig. But for the average person, we want to be generalists, not specialists.
Cain Velasquez, if you look at that guy, he's not ripped like a Francis Ngannou or someone. But Cain Velasquez is just awesome at everything.
Yeah.
And that is like, for me, like, I'm sure we can talk about this, the G.I. Joe syndrome that we grow up with as kids, that you must look like The Rock. And I'm like, I think it's worse than anorexia.
Dude, that shit started with He-Man.
Yeah.
He-Man.
So, and then I see athletes like that. Like, obviously you have Anderson Silva's another one, not ripped. Fedor, not ripped. And you see a lot of athletes that are ripped in mixed martial arts, for example, and they're not the best out there.
But that's what you said that's happening with rugby too. It's this gym syndrome. You don't have to be a good athlete anymore.
To have skills.
Yeah, that's right. It's just literally
skills versus athleticism.
Skills versus athleticism. And so things are changing slowly over time, right? It does. But bottom line is, being a generalist is way better than being a specialist. Being able to pull yourself into a tree, being able to run, right, when you want to run, being able to walk when you want to walk, like just being able to bend and move is very important.
So burpees, ideally, you should have someone looking at you, seeing if you're doing it right, and if anything is hurting structurally, stop doing it.
Well, yeah, and this is the catch-22 when we talk about pain. There's so many people dealing with back pain. You know, if we look in America, the number one cause of disability is what? Lower back pain. The second cause of disability is neck pain.
Okay.
So if it's cool working out, but if somebody has structural and postural issues, working out can also be detrimental. Because if you have a little bit of, if you have a broken back or you have severe degeneration, is jumping on a box really going to help you?
Yeah.
No.
Squatting's going to be terrible.
That's right. So the basics has to be there. And if the basics aren't there, nothing else will really work out in the long run.
It's even like everyone's like, oh, you've got back problems, go swim. And I went crazy into swimming last year. I got up to my 2 kilometer mark and I was like, fuck, okay, got the t-shirt. But like freestyle,
Yeah.
fine. Then breaststyle, the frog, fucking killed my back.
Yeah.
And it's not like swimming is good for you. There's like structurally there's problems. And if I do movement, it hurts.
Yeah. Like absolutely. So for certain people, certain movements might not be that beneficial to other people. But again, these are all generalities because it's very difficult to say what's going to work. But bottom line is, like, if you want an ideal ratio of working out, right, you need at least 2 sessions of high intensity interval training. Something that's going to push your heart rate almost to the max.
So twice a week.
Yeah, like twice a week is a perfect ratio. At least twice a week, you want to do some strength stuff, right? And these are minimal I'm going over, right? Where you just want to do some strength stuff, right? Like push-ups, pull-ups, squats. And you can do everything body weight too. So for the people with excuses, just shut the fuck up and start working out. I mean, this is very simple. Like excuses, you don't have to belong to a fancy gym.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything. Your workouts can be free. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Go do, for the people who's never worked out, simple routine, right? 10 push-ups, 30-second rest. 10 push-ups, 30-second rest. 10 push-ups, 30-second rest. 20 squats, 30-second rest.
Now, let's say someone can't do 10 push-ups. So 5 push-ups.
Start with
maybe
5.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Anything.
Start with what you can do. Give a 30-second break and go again. Because that's going to actually tackle 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Because you're going to get the strength in, but you're also going to get the heart rate elevated.
But there's also, the reason this is good is serotonin, hormones,
Yes.
and there's a variety of stuff that will help you with your mental health.
Movement has been shown beyond a shadow of a doubt to counteract depression because it balances neurotransmitters in the brain. Movement has also been shown beyond a shadow of a doubt to help your organs function well.
Okay.
Because even your digestion will work better with movement. Like I had a very young kid come and see me. When I say young, he's my age, 33, but he looks like he's 50. And I told him that. And I know that might be a little bit confrontational, but it's like, hey man, you're 33. You should not be looking this way. You know, you shouldn't be gray and you shouldn't have bags under your eyes at 33 years old. You shouldn't look like this. But he's gone through about 10 different doctors, right? Looking for a problem that I told him I don't really think he has. But I did a food sensitivity test. I did a poop test. We did neurotransmitter test. We did hormone test. We did all these tests, right, as peace of mind for the patient. Okay. So all these tests, yeah, because this is what some people want. Yeah. They want to find something, right? They really do. So we go through all these tests, everything else. He brought in a stack of tests like this from all the previous doctors. My wife and I review everything. We go over everything. And I sit down with him and I go, your biggest problem is that you don't work out. And he's like, at first he didn't believe me. And because in his mind, he's been doing all this research himself, you know, on WebMD and Dr. McCullough and Dr. Bro Science and Dr. X and all these big websites you can go look for information. And he really didn't want to believe me that it was exercise. But I was adamant. And then we spoke again and I pulled out all the research. And I showed him beyond, because his biggest thing was digestion. His biggest issue was digestive issues, right?
And that wastes a lot of energy.
It wastes a lot of energy because he would go poop basically 4 or 5 times before 11 or 12 o'clock and then not go and just get bloated and bloated and bloated. And I told him,
Was he big or small?
No, he's tiny. He's skinny. It's like, and he doesn't want to exercise because he's scared of getting skinnier.
Okay.
And I go, you're going to actually have the opposite effect. Your body right now is...
Because the way you explained or described him, he sounded like a big guy. Now you say he's actually a small guy.
Super skinny. The guy's withering away. He looks old. You know, like imagine a super skinny skeleton standing in front of you.
All right.
That's your age. And His biggest issue was that he didn't work out and he didn't want to believe me. So I had to pull out all the research and I go, dude, movement, human movement and exercise stimulates motility. It stimulates movement here. Without that movement, you're missing a big raw requirement for the system to work appropriately. And yeah, that was his biggest issue, just not exercising. All the lab tests he spent money on, everything. It's like, dude, here's some free advice.
And did he accept the advice?
He did.
And
Thankfully, right? So he did work out. He's still looking for other answers, but he needs to give it some time. That's what I told him too. Rome wasn't built in a day, and he hasn't worked out in 10 years.
So I'm going to move on from the exercise, the sleeping patterns, which is for me, I call like lifestyle. I want to move to nutrition because I feel that's probably the most important thing, which is not discussed in any form. And we were speaking the other day about it's almost up until the age of 10, no school. The only school you should have is learn how to stretch. What's the different types of exercises? This food does
emotional stability, control, you know,
all of these things, because this is the stuff that will actually help you. What's the dangers? Like your parents will teach you, don't go play with that dog because it's dangerous. They should put a fucking television there and say, don't go play with that because that's what's going to happen.
And it's also dangerous.
That's the danger with that.
Coca-Cola, also dangerous.
Most unethical company in the world.
I mean, it was funny. I was reading a thing this morning, and you know, there's some old ads out of newspapers that you can go pull up that literally says, from the creators of aspirin, the most natural pain reliever, whatever, heroin.
It works really well.
I wouldn't know, but I'm just saying, like,
yeah. I have a few friends.
It's just ironic. It's like, blah, blah, heroin.
Yeah. No, and it's not only that. Like, if you look at the lifestyle, the amount of parents that do not spend time with their children in the first 10 to 15 to 20 years.
But Merve,
so that's again the whole lifestyle thing.
But
and
Merve,
that impacts.
Is it really parents' fault, or is it just a miseducation or uneducated? Because it's like my mom. I love my mom to death, you know, but she had no clue on what to feed us, what nutrition matters, any of that. She had no clue. So I can sit there all day and be like, it's your fault, or just realize that it's not always a person's fault because they just don't know what they don't know until they know.
No, fair enough. And like, I've obviously looked at a lot of things in my life, and there's many people in my life where I blame them for certain things, and then the conclusion is they did the best at that time to the best of their ability. And if you take away the faults, there was love involved in their motivation for doing it.
100%.
If it was wrong or not, there was love. I've cut out people, I know they love me, but it's like it doesn't make me feel good to spend time with you. But we can love each other from a distance. But yeah, it's fascinating for me to see the effects. And I think it's obviously, I don't want to go too deep into this, but it's obviously a lifestyle problem that we have in the world at the moment. The pursuit of money, work, all of these things. And it's actually, if you break away a lot of things, then a lot of our behaviors is not needed. Like I started growing my little cherry tomatoes and stuff like. Anyway, I want to talk about nutrition. I'm going to go through a list of things.
Perfect.
Say yes or no.
Okay, cool.
And some of it will be difficult to say.
Okay.
Bread.
No.
Pasta.
No.
Rice.
Sometimes.
Barley.
No.
Milk. Obviously no.
Dairy, no.
Dairy, so cheese.
No.
Is that terrible for you? Mozzarella, feta, parmesan, camembert.
On a scale from good to bad, like if we looked at a little scale, milk would be better for you than cheese.
Okay. Yogurt, terrible.
Dairy.
So we're going to talk about that on another time. What do you call the probiotics that isn't real necessarily yogurt?
Probiotics are species specific again, like everything else, and you can't get the right probiotics from dairy.
Yeah.
You get it from vegetables.
Then So all dairy is fucking bullshit. Sunflower oil,
Works for some, doesn't work for me.
olive oil.
Olive oil, don't cook with it, but drink it raw or throw it over salad.
What happens with it if you cook it?
It's got a very low melting point, so it becomes rancid and toxic to the human body.
Coconut oil.
Very good.
Then
And high melting point, so you can cook with coconut oil. Or grapeseed oil, sorry.
Grapeseed oil
Yep,
as well.
you can cook with grapeseed oil.
Explain ghee, clarified butter, and
Perfect.
why that's good for
So,
you.
okay, so here we go. So ghee and butter, I don't mind that much, depending if the person actually has a dairy sensitivity, like an IgG response. But bottom line is, like I said earlier, it's the proteins in food that causes the inflammatory response, not the fats. So when we look at
And we want the inflammatory responses.
No,
we don't want
We
that.
don't want, especially not from foods.
We want that if there's trauma,
Yes.
but we don't want trauma.
But you don't want trauma every day either,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
think about food, because that food is what you do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So that's why food impacts us more than necessarily just physical trauma, you know? So
Cool. We're going to get to that. So ghee, clarified butter.
ghee is clarified butter. They've removed all the whey protein and casein protein. Even butter is about 95% just fat, right? And the other 5% would be whey protein and casein protein.
And you can make your own ghee by cooking butter.
Cooking down the butter.
And then scooping off the bubbles.
Yep.
And then you just store that.
Correct.
Why is fat good for you? Fat doesn't make fat.
Because because there's like New York bestsellers right now, like eat fat and get skinny and blah, 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 blah. This is just the way of the world. Bottom line is, why is fat good for you, Madva? What's the most important organ in the human body?
Brain?
Absolutely. When are you considered dead?
Brain stops working?
When your brain stops working, not your heart, right? That's why they used to bury people with bells on their toes, right? Ding, 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 oh, they're still alive. Oh, crap. Go rush, go save them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so your brain is the most important thing, because your brain is basically what regulates and controls everything, you know? And the bottom line is, when we talk about your brain and we talk about your nervous systems in your body, that literally controls a lot, right? And it controls more than people realize. Some of the stuff from your spine is interconnected with your stress response. It also controls organ health, which people don't realize.
So if my back hurts, I might be stressed. If I change my food, my sleeping pattern, my back problems goes away.
Yes.
Without stretching
100%.
or dry needling or anything.
100%, because it would be a chemical reaction. And I tell that to people, I go, imagine a wilting plant. What's the first thing you give it? Most people go, water. I go, perfect. Let's say we gave it water and it didn't automatically heal in 6 months. Did we do something wrong for it? No, we didn't. What else could it mean? That the cat might be shitting, right, in the soil. It might need sunlight. It's multifactorial. There's different factors that's going to play a role. So it's not as simple as just
So
A
fat
equals B.
influences your brain in which way?
Fat is very, very good for your brain and your nervous systems and your arterial lining, right? Because it lubricates. They've done studies on the Eskimos that their primary food source was whale blubber, just fat. No cardiovascular disease, no cancer, no dental cavities, and no toothbrushes or toothpaste. But no sugar. Imagine that, right? Just fat and protein, right? That was their staple, and they did fine. So fat feeds your system. It helps your system so much. Good fats. Is there some stuff like bad fats? Absolutely there is, right? What are bad fats? Fats that get used to do French fries in, that gets recycled over and over again, right? The chemical reaction of that is going to absolutely screw up your body. Those are called like, what are they called with a T or the H? Hydrogenated fats, or what's the bad name? Trans fats.
Yeah.
There we go, trans fats. That's what I'm looking for. So those are very bad for you.
So steak, sirloin, rump, is fat fine?
In moderation.
Pork chop fat?
In moderation.
Bacon fat?
In moderation.
So moderation means, let's say,
For those types of fat. Now avocado,
yeah,
great fat. You can have it every single day. Coconut oil, you can have it every single day.
Any other source of fats that's good?
Grapeseed oil, like olive oil, like all those are fats.
Okay.
Right? That's really beneficial.
So people shouldn't think of fats as the fat on bacon, steaks, and
Yes. And here's why. Unfortunately, I love meat. I do. I grew up with it in South Africa. But when we cook meat really fast, like when we barbecue or braai, it actually releases heterotricyclic acids, which is a known carcinogenic to a human being, which means it causes cancer if it's not cooked right. So slower cooking of meat is way better for you. Always has been.
And well done or rare, it doesn't matter.
Quality matters.
But
so if it's really good quality meat, the more raw it is, the better it is for you.
Right.
100%.
So, fat is a good. Red meat?
Quality matters.
So, cow, it's fine.
Cow is fine. I personally do bison, venison, gamey type of stuff.
Lamb?
Lamb, better than cow.
White meat, chicken?
I don't do chicken.
I heard that that's the most dodgy meat that you can eat.
Do you know why?
Because they eat fucking everything.
They're not meant to eat everything, but they do eat everything, unfortunately. And they're also not meant to be fed corn.
Okay.
What
does the corn do to the chicken?
Inflammation.
And we don't want inflammation.
We don't want a sick animal.
That causes all the shit in our body.
So if we get a chicken, right, you and I go buy a chicken right now, we put it on the land, like in a cage, like on about, let's say, like a kilometer of grass. We don't feed it. Will it die? No. What's it going to eat?
We'll find shit to eat.
The grass
Yeah.
and the bugs. That's what it's meant to eat. So we take that chicken and we lab test the omega-3, omega-6 ratios in the chicken.
Yeah.
It's going to have 3 times more omega-3 fatty acid than omega-6. Omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. Omega-6 is pro-inflammatory. As soon as that chicken touches corn, and there's peer-reviewed literature on this, the ratio switches.
And that fucks us up.
Yeah, because now you're getting pro-inflammatory omega-6s, and you're getting way less omega-3.
And that's the meat and the egg then.
Yeah.
So expensive chickens means it's good quality stuff that will make you feel good.
Unless it's just marketing bullshit and they tell you it's expensive and it's not, because they can get away with it. And that's the point. That's the point I want to make to everybody. What you buy, it matters. So when we buy food, when I buy food in America, I have farmers that I know I can go to for food. You live in Stellenbosch. There's farmers around.
Yeah.
Where you can make sure that the quality of products that you're putting in your body is okay.
And that's the thing that you said, like, it's not expensive to eat healthy, because I did it that first month. I worked out like eating healthy is about 4,000 to 5,000 rand.
Yeah.
Probably goes up to 6 if I really want to do it healthy. But it's the amount of food that I need. So if now I eat a lot of shit, like you'll eat a burger, a pizza, you'll eat fucking muesli, wheat bix, whatever. There's so much that you consume. So once I eat healthy, I actually don't need. It's almost like buying a diesel car that just runs a little bit better. Like the fuel consumption is less.
Quality versus quantity. Quality is more important than quantity of food. They've done a couple of studies, it's quite new, right, on ketogenic diets, right?
Yeah.
Now, have they studied ketogenic diets for years? Yes. There's papers from the 1920s showing that a ketogenic diet, right, completely helps people with epilepsy. No medication.
All right.
So we've actually helped a bunch of kids with epilepsy get off their medication, where we co-managed with the medical doctors. We didn't take the kid off the medication. We co-managed with other doctors. We showed them the evidence. The parents were adamant and challenged the other people. And we got a bunch of kids off the epileptic medication through proper alkalinic ketogenic diets. So they've basically, a couple of cool new studies have shown that your brain works 40% better off fats than carbohydrates.
So if you have a job that needs a lot of thinking, do you need more fats than the average person?
Yeah. Like more fats, less carbohydrates, less glucose.
So something like ostrich and springbok, very good.
Yeah, good. Ostrich, springbok, very good, right? It's going to be leaner meat, so you're not getting the meat, you're not getting the fat from the meat. But then you can take ghee and you can literally put some ghee on there. You can get that fat content from better sources of fat.
And then if you look at fish, white fish, pink fish,
fatty fish.
So tuna steaks.
It's funny because I saw a meme yesterday, right, which was hilarious. So this lady goes to the grocer, to the fish market, and she's like, "Can I get my fish in a plastic bag?" And the guy goes, "Well, it's in the fish." Because of the shit we've done to the oceans, right?
Yeah.
We've completely polluted it with plastic, all these different things. There's plastic islands, right, in the middle of the ocean where all the different streams are going. But the bottom line is, big fish bioaccumulate toxins. Big fish bioaccumulate toxins faster than small fish. So you don't want to eat massive types of fish.
So salmon?
Is tuna big or small?
It's huge.
It's huge. So tuna will bioaccumulate mercury, aluminum, all these heavy metals that we've done to our system, right? So you want to stick with smaller fish. Salmon is a smaller fish. You can do salmon, right? Compared to a tuna.
Yeah.
Sardines.
Mackerel? Whatever. Go to the smaller ones.
Go to the smaller ones and go to the fatty ones.
And what you said is having a combo of like 2 white, 2 lamb, like every per week.
Diversity matters. You can't eat the same shit every day. You can't. You're not meant for it. We're meant to grow up in seasons. Therefore, you won't have apples around every single season, So we're meant to go through a diversified, like your food should be diverse. Look at the colors of your food. The same thing when you eat, right? Try and get a variety of different colors, reds, oranges, greens, so you're getting a variety, a spectrum, because those colors matter, right? Because when the plants are actually being developed, they have phytonutrients that give them those certain colors. And it's very different phytonutrients are very beneficial for us.
But is green veg and fruit generally healthier for your body than the other colorful ones? Like spinach, broccoli.
Diversity.
Okay.
It's a diverse thing. It's the same thing. You can't take a probiotic or the same probiotic, right? If it's good and not from dairy.
Yeah.
For 5 years.
Okay.
You have to switch on and off and have a little bit more diversity.
Yeah.
It's better for your body.
So I think all of these like broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, all of that stuff is really good for you. I think you said Brussels
in general,
sprouts.
and I'm going to say this real quick. So at the Wellness Way and what we do, we have a big motto. We don't guess, we test. So what's cool about science now is I can do a simple blood test on you and I can see if broccoli is really healthy for you. Because for some people, it's not.
What happens for some people?
For some people, it has a delayed, sensitive IgG reaction.
Yeah.
That means it's spiking inflammation in your body.
Broccoli.
Yep. So it's not as simple as just going, this is healthy anymore, this is healthy. And here's why.
Fuck.
But fuck is right. And here's why it's happened like this. It's because we've tanked the whole system, our whole ecosystem, right? We've effed up the oceans. We've cut out all the trees we've wanted. We've polluted. We've done whatever we've wanted, right? We've basically seeked and destroyed on the earth, right? We've conquered in a sense, That's what man has done always, right? We come in and we conquer. Unfortunately, everything we've done to this food supply, right? Even in America, I don't know if it's happening here, so don't quote me on it in South Africa. Like all the research I do is in America because that's where I live. But they've been using this herbicide and pesticide, right, for years. It's called glyphosate, right? It has a half-life of something like 600 years. So as soon as you put it in the soil, you can't just get it out of the soil. And it's been linked. So Monsanto, for those that know do you know who Monsanto is, Madhva? It's the biggest genetically modified food group in the world. These are the people that's patented all the seeds in the world, and they're genetically modifying food. Okay. And I understand where they're coming from, that they want to feed the world because we have starvation problems, even though we're wasting so much food, mostly, right? But the problem with that is the first man that got cancer right now actually sued the company and won. Because studies have basically shown beyond a shadow of a doubt that that type of herbicide and pesticide will cause cancer in people. And this guy just won like 300 or 400 million.
So cancer comes a lot from what you eat.
Absolutely.
Or only from what you eat. Or there's genetic predispositions as well.
There is. So there is genetic predispositions. From all the studies I've read, right, we'd say about 5 to maybe 10% is genetic. So there is a small genetic component, but it's a small genetic component. The bottom line is, if you go into the research, right, and you look at foods and let's just talk lifestyle. Let's say it's lifestyle, right? Because that's really what it is. When we talk about healthy living, it's a lifestyle. And what percentage of heart disease is preventable through proper lifestyle?
Everything?
95%. Remember, there's about 5 to 10% genetics. So that means a kid can be born, right, without a valve or without something that's not going to be good. But about 95% is completely preventable.
And lifestyle will give you a fighting chance even if you have a genetic predisposition.
Absolutely. 100%. Now, how about cancer? What percentage of cancer is actually preventable?
Most of it?
Most of it as well, about 90%. So again, we got that 5 to 10%, right, when a kid's born with leukemia or what and stuff, like you can't help it, right?
Yeah.
That is a little bit of a genetic or more of an epigenetic. I'm not going to go into the details of epigenetics, but it's more of an epigenetic change that's happening.
Yeah.
When we look at genes, you don't get born with bad genes. You don't at 37, your genes don't decide to shit the bed at 37 and get high blood pressure. And then the doctor goes, it's genetic.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You were pre-programmed at 37 to just develop high blood pressure. That's just, it's illogical. It's stupid. Okay. Think about genes.
Yeah.
Think about genes like a bookcase.
Yeah.
It's there for everybody. You have the same genes as me, bro. Like, we are the most homogeneous species in the world. That means you and I are more related than two tomatoes growing on the same vine.
Okay.
On your little tomato plant. That's right. So you have these books, but in front of every book you have a slider. That's the epigenome. That's the activation process. So the environment is going to interact with the genes by going on, off, on, off, on, off. That's how it works. That's why there's studies in 2010 and 2011, 2013 and 2014 showing the cancer genes being completely reversed in humans.
And just anyone that finds this a hard pill to swallow, and I can understand that because I'm sure there's a lot of people that lost family members, loved ones through cancer. And I don't really want to comment on any of that. I've grown up that they say, talk about your own experience. And my experience is that my brother died of cancer. And I'm not a specialist in anything.
Yeah.
And I've always said, I don't think my brother was mentally strong enough to beat cancer. I know from a lifestyle point of view, he wasn't healthy enough. And it's not only, I think it's that challenge of, once you get sick, yes, you can do a lifestyle change. But I think that 10 years leading up to that is very important.
It's more important.
Because when the body is sick, you can't really change it that much because it's just trying to survive, I think. And that it's like my dad, he's visiting his friend that had a stroke. And he's had a few things. And they've said a few times, if he wasn't as fit as he was, he would not have survived. So it's about being healthy prior to the incident. And my brother but I think one of the reasons why he died is he just wasn't strong enough on a few different levels to battle it. And I think if he was strong enough or stronger, he would have fought it better. I think his battle was very difficult just because of the person who he was.
Can everybody just rewind this shit and listen to what this man just said? Because that's probably, if you take one thing away from today, it's the preparation is key. And when we talk about cancer prevention, heart disease prevention, you can't prevent it when it happens, right? That's not true prevention. Prevention happens with how you're prepping yourself before it happens. It's not like when somebody gets cancer, when somebody gets heart disease, it's like trying to run up one of these mountains in Stellenbosch versus just every day climbing a little hill. That's what it comes down to. And it's fucking tough, man. This stuff affects everybody, you know. It's quite funny that we're talking about this subject, because when I first moved to America, or I first opened my clinic and my place.
You're talking about your aunt, I think.
Well, this was before my aunt. Yeah. I actually went on a radio show and we spoke about cancer, because it was like a cancer prevention month.
Yeah.
And I dropped some very hard, controversial science. And one person actually phoned in and got really emotional because his wife died.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you fucking telling me that if my wife ate this, that she could have prevented cancer? And I'm like, yeah. But it's like you said, it's a very hard thing to swallow, because it takes a lot of self-responsibility, doesn't it? To realize, okay, you know, I've ended up here because a lot of the stuff I've done wasn't the best for myself. And for a lot of people, ignorance is bliss. But that person wrote me up to the medical board, which was but it's part of life, right? If you're gonna be controversial and you're gonna be out there, you're gonna have haters. People are gonna be like, you don't like this, and it's fine. He wrote me up to the medical board. I got a phone call from the investigator, because now you go under this investigation process, right? And so for a lot of people, you know, you're going like this because you just said a lot of stuff that isn't common knowledge.
Yeah.
In any case, bottom line is, the guy contacts me. I go, listen here, I'm going to send you, because he's like, okay, I'm requesting this. I'm like, it's all perfectly fine. I'm going to send you the actual radio show that I did, and I'm going to send you all the evidence to support what I said. So on my email, I attached, there was about 150 peer-reviewed publications on what I said. Next day, he emails me back. He goes, hey, man, thank you so much. Case is closed. They can't fight you.
Yeah.
Because the evidence is clear. The evidence is there that they've reversed cancer.
And I think that's the one of the biggest things that I find difficult about the human as a species is the inability to admit when they're wrong.
Yeah.
And to
egos.
And to reflect on who and what you are, and take responsibility for a lot of things in your life. And I'm not saying I'm a saint. There's a lot of stuff in my life that I'm aggravating problems rather than finding the solutions. And a lot of time the solution is just stop and just take a step back. But it's crazy to see how people just generally struggle to take responsibility. And, you know, again, I'm almost glad that my brother died, because at least I can sit here and talk about my brother and not somebody else's, you know, family member. And Robert, the police detective, is going to come on, and he has leukemia, or he had leukemia, because it's about the blood counts. And we were speaking about the wonderful thing of getting cancer, because he said the way his life changed, the way he thinks about life is crazy. My dad had leukemia. He, on 99, turned around and he hasn't died. Again, I don't know if his lifestyle contributed to that. I think there is a bit of a genetic thing in the family. But I stopped smoking. And people are like, is it difficult stopping to smoke? I'm like, look at someone dying. Someone that's 120 kilograms, and then 4 years later, they're 60. They've literally lost half their body weight. And then you're like, that could possibly be me if I don't change.
Yeah.
And a lot of the big changes I made in my life was due to my brother's cancer. So that's why I say it's a wonderful thing. A lot of my accomplishments over this last 4 years is because of, he died at 31. It is possible. Let's live. And I'm giving myself a fighting chance with all the changes I make.
And a lot of the stuff I do is because I've gone through these things myself with my dad.
Yeah.
And I've seen it in my family. It's the same thing. My aunt got diagnosed about 2.5 years, 3 years ago with terminal cancer as well. And, you know, and she's fine now.
Yeah,
but again, she has a very, very strong personality. Her mindset has always been right.
Yeah.
And she's been eating healthy for a very long time.
She just had to make a couple of like the first thing I sent Amy, my cousin, was, okay, give your mom this, do this, right? And for her, like a big thing is like cannabinoids, right? It helps vastly. I mean, there's studies showing
Cannabis oils.
Yeah, but it's the
CBD.
actual. Yeah, but so when you look at the CBD oil, the actual active component is called cannabinoids, right? So that's really been shown to basically like help killer T cells and actually basically shut down the neoplastic growth, right? The cancerous growth in there. And that's the first thing I sent Amy. I go, just get your mom high. Get your mom high.
What, smoking weed?
Yeah, it's better than alcohol for her right now.
Because that was the one thing that my brother was super stoked about. It was like, can I start smoking weed? Like he was always smoking a fuckload of weed, but he was just glad that he could.
Yeah, but now
the quality of weed. Anyway, let's quickly just recap.
No, but it's important. It's not just the quality of weed. If you smoke, you're damaging your lungs. Whether the THC, whether the cannabinoids are good for you, still damaging. So the oils are a lot better, right?
Yeah.
And you can get the oils without the psychoactive component as well. But all I want to say real quick is, because we spoke about cigarettes, right, and stopping cigarettes, right? Alcohol is just as bad as cigarettes. Think about that one.
Plus, I think if you look at statistics, how much alcohol-related deaths are there per year?
Liver cirrhosis.
But not only that, like drunken driving.
Oh, yeah.
The type of incidents that alcohol creates versus wife beating,
and for
male beating.
Yeah, and for those who think alcohol is not a drug, it is classified a recreational drug in clinical research. With LSD, with marijuana, with mushrooms.
So, are we saying that the way you live determines if you're going to get cancer or not? So if you have the wrong lifestyle, because again, like this is quite tough to hear, because obviously my dad had cancer, my brother had cancer. I remember like I don't know if you know Peter Ann from our school, or like Bloemhof, but her dad had cancer. And I don't know what he was eating, but a very active lifestyle guy, but he died of cancer.
Yeah, and I'm not saying everything is preventable, but what I am saying is, give yourself a fighting chance. There is enough research showing us that lifestyle does affect if the cancer gene is activated or inactive. And to reverse it through lifestyle, they've literally reversed prostate cancer and breast cancer. The actual genes. Because it changes based off the environment it's placed in. The problem, though, is it's multifactorial. There's more than just one thing causes one thing.
Because there's another guy that had the Leotana shop on Stellenbosch, and I think he was one of the most healthiest guys. Again, I don't know his eating patterns, and he died of cancer.
But that's what I tell my mom, because my mom always says, but this person was healthy. I go, do you live with them?
Yeah.
Do you know the stress that they have? Are they sleeping well? Do you really know what's going through their brain 24/7? Hell no. No, we don't know that.
Yeah.
So we can't live in the other person's shoes.
So healthy doesn't just mean exercise.
Healthy definitely doesn't mean just exercise or eating well.
Yeah.
In my clinic, healthy means that the spine, right, is in proper alignment. Just
and
like
if you've been watching this video, the way I sit is fucking terrible.
But just like you take your kids to a dentist and they take x-rays, right? It's the same thing. Make sure the static structure is nice, because why? That's also going to lead to inflammation or non-inflammation. It's also going to help the signaling process of the brain to the organs and the legs and the arms and everything. So there's a big health component in making sure that the central nervous system is working appropriately and the blood flow is working appropriately in that system. So a lot of these people exercise and do this, but they don't make sure that their posture is aligned rightly and the loading on the spine is right. So we're missing a big piece of the puzzle to kick ass in life later on, right?
So we've talked about nutrition and we've drifted off topic, and the one, like, I want to go into the structural thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And like if we just finish off nutrition, it's a bit sad in the sense that you said broccoli became detrimental. So I'm sure people are sitting there. Does that mean I have to fucking blood test everything? Like, What's the basic science?
You
If
can
my
do
tummy is runny, it's not good for me.
Yes.
If I feel,
If you get gassy,
if I get gassy, I'm bloated.
That's
I
right.
feel throwing up. I'm getting maybe a sensation.
do you know what one of the simplest tests is you can do at home?
Yeah.
And you even have an app on the phone for this, right? If you have a heart rate monitor, if you eat food, you should be going into a parasympathetic state, the resting and digesting. Right. Certain foods you eat will go into a sympathetic response. How do you do that? Very simple. Take your heartbeat before you eat a certain food, like a tomato, because a tomato is a very gray food, by the way. So the way I split it up for
Gray meaning right or wrong.
Gray meaning right or wrong. It could go either way. So I see foods as bulletproof or kryptonite, right? It's either going to make your body stronger or it's going to absolutely just make you weaker. So that's the way I see it. So ghee, for anybody, pretty much, will make you stronger. Sugar, for anybody, will make you weaker. That's very black and white.
Artificial sugar or glucose as well?
Glucose as well.
Okay.
100%.
So fruit's generally not good for you.
Fruit in moderation, but low sugar fruits like berries, apples.
We had an apple just to get us a little bit more.
Like berries, apples, those are fine. Those are low sugar fruits. High sugar fruits like pineapple, you cannot do pineapple on a daily basis.
Once a week?
Once a week, that's fine. That's moderation.
And late at night, treat yourself.
Late at night sometimes.
During the day?
I don't.
Before or after exercise?
I stick with most of my carbohydrates around my exercise time.
Okay.
Because that's when my body's going to actually be able to process the most of it. And my biggest meal is usually after I work out as well.
Afterwards?
Yeah.
So talking about this blood pressure thing, how you said you're allergic to eggs.
Yeah.
How did you find that out?
Like with me, I've done all blood tests.
So everything's blood test.
I do myself. I do blood tests.
But did you notice any physical side effects with eating eggs?
No, I did not. And that's the scary part because you have different immune system responses. Like an IgE response is like if you get a bee sting or if I eat a sunflower, I'll be sitting here like my whole throat will swell up and I'll be like, okay. But for a lot of the IgG responses, which makes up 80% of your immune system, you don't feel it.
Yeah.
Okay. So basing a lot of stuff off feeling doesn't always work out well either, you know?
Sorry, there's a little fly on this headset that's going to irritate you now.
Okay, get out of here. And so with me, I've done blood tests, but for the layman who can't afford, to do a blood test, you can literally just take your heart rate, eat a certain food. If it increases by more than 15 beats per minute after 15 minutes, don't eat it.
Ever again.
Because you're going into a sympathetic state.
And will your body ever change where at some point you can eat that?
Yes, and that's the good thing. But
is that for another day to discuss?
That's a big different topic, but yes, it can, and your body does change and it does heal itself. So for the average person, we start with a food sensitivity and allergy test because it tests both the allergies and the sensitivities.
Yeah.
The average person gets about 25 to 30. I've been living a certain way for a very long time. When I did mine the first time, I only had 6 compared to the average person. Right. Now, like for me, I had eggs, I had mustard, I had canola oil, I had sunflower oil, I had dairy, of course, and I had wheat.
Yeah.
Now, I've eliminated those foods for about a year, and I'm going to go retest myself when I get back in the States. And I'm probably going to have 4 for the rest of my life. Wheat, dairy, canola, and sunflower oil. Those will not leave. I can tell you that right now. And that might be more of an epigenetic change that I got from mom and dad.
Okay. Cool. I see that we have been going on for quite a long time. I want to finish on the structural thing. And what I like about this whole chiropractic discussion is, fuck you guys, we haven't been talking about clicking and cracking the back the whole time.
Yeah.
This whole discussion has been everything except that. But I want to talk about the structural thing because...
Let's go, ask me.
And I want to try and do this in 10 minutes, which is way too short. But again, my physiotherapist, I love my physiotherapist. I love dry needling. It's fucking amazing. Like 2 years ago when I started doing dry needling, it's like a new religion for me.
Yep.
The way I feel afterwards is crazy. But again, a lot of the stuff is you hunching your shoulders forward, like, and blah, blah, blah. And then a lot of it is like certain muscles aren't strong enough to keep it in the right place. And it's obviously my responsibility to strengthen these. But what you were saying, if I understand correctly, is that it's not only muscle. There is structural stuff with the spine and certain things. And you can't change that without going into these decompressing machines and pulling and stuff.
Traction.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
So a lot of the muscles are just reacting to bad posture.
Yes, 100%. Like a lot of muscles.
I'm saying hi to your wife that is poking there with a beer. And we're going to join them shortly. Drinking the poison
That's
that you
right.
were talking about.
That's right.
So, so basically the muscles is just trying to compensate for bad structure, and you need to change that. And is the clicking helping with changing that?
No.
What does the clicking
No.
do?
So anybody going to a chiropractor for alignment,
Is that what you call it?
yeah, well, we're going to call it alignment right now. Just like a Ferrari has alignment or any car
Yeah.
has alignment. So anybody going to a chiropractor for alignment, the popping and clicking does not align. I'm going to, and that sounds very crazy to say that, but it's true. So I'm doing a whole like keynote next year on neuromechanics, right? And neuromechanics, essentially in a nutshell, is how the joints talk to the brain and how the brain talks to the body. So you go through this whole cascade, and I'm not going to go through the details. Bottom line is, muscles don't just work by themselves. Muscles respond to what it gets told to do. So think about your spine like a baby, and think about the muscles like a mom and dad trying to protect the baby.
Yeah.
If the baby goes under stress, or there's going to be damage to the baby, what does the muscles do? Right. So over time, you get into this muscular dysfunction where calcium deposits get put down everywhere, right, in the muscles. That's why I love dry needling, because sometimes you need dry needling with the structure, right? There's a time and place for everything. What does the popping and clicking do? We call that, and I'm going to say that's a manipulation, okay? What does that do for a person? It increases the movement in the joint.
Because for me, it's almost like releasing stress and tension.
That it does. And here's why. So when we talk about the joint and the brain, right? The joint talks to the brain. So if the joint doesn't move nicely, right, it's going to go up the spinal cord to the thalamus in the brain. But it's essentially going to increase the pain response. Okay, at the end of the day. Then if we pop and click that joint, the movement spikes up and this pain response comes down. Now, very important, when this joint, right, becomes bad, right, and it doesn't move appropriately, or people are drinking milk on a daily basis and it's like getting chemically sensitive, this joint inhibition will also stimulate the sympathetic response in the human body. So getting adjusted will also shut down that sympathetic overdriven state where people are stressed out of their brains. I've had people cry on my table. I've had people vomit. I've had people do some weird, funky shit when they get a good manipulation.
Yeah.
Because everything just like flushes
Releases.
and releases. But so it's a very good therapy because we all will stress out in life.
But so I had my first adjustment Saturday.
Yeah.
And I actually...
You had your first manipulation Saturday.
Manipulation. And I actually had dry needling, I think 24 hours prior to that, and that did help a lot. But I just have so much stiffness, and I must say the general stiffness this week has been gone, which I felt. There is still a lot because I am retarded still in my body. But is it like, should you have x-rays before you do the adjustments? And when you can feel if you should be doing this or not.
I always do x-rays and measurements.
But not with me the other day.
I can't. I'm in South Africa.
Yeah.
And then we'd have to go. I don't know how we'd even get x-rays.
Yeah.
But so even doing that.
But like in your institute, you always do x-rays prior.
Absolutely. Unless they're pregnant or something like that. But in general, yes. And it's a very easy conversation. I'm like, hey, Merve, wouldn't you like me to know more like what I'm doing with you?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want me to find the root cause of this issue?
So a lot of problems comes from the structure.
Absolutely. 100%. Like 100%.
So we have last one, because this is the other controversial thing, the golden hammer. the little hammer that I see on some videos. What is that? What does it do? Do you actually do that? Is that bullshit? Is that real? Because I know that that's a little bit of taboo in a lot of areas. The little golden hammer.
What golden hammer?
You know, I've seen some videos where the chiropractor takes out like a little stick, and then he starts hitting the people, and he starts trying to manipulate certain areas. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've never seen that.
All right, I'll show you afterwards.
Show me afterwards. I've never seen that.
There's a few guys over here in Stellenbosch that I know that talk about the golden hammer, or they use it. And it's quite laughable for certain physical therapists.
I don't know, man. I mean, if you go into the science in physical therapy too, physical therapists study mechanical traction, not chiropractors.
Yeah.
Right. It's physical therapists. So that's what I do. And that's the only way to restructure the spine is through mechanical traction and loading.
Yeah.
Right. Very simple. Because that's gonna affect the ligaments and the tendons. It's gonna have a viscoelastic response.
Yeah.
Over time. So if somebody is like, you know, I'm going to do it on the video. If somebody's like, this is their posture, you know, they have their eyes closed, you have them walk and they're still there. No popping and cracking is going to make them stand up like this.
Yeah.
It's impossible. How can we get a person from this? And I should actually post some pre and posts like on the like in the comments, right?
Yeah.
How do we get a person from this to this?
Yeah.
Through mechanical traction, we put a vector into the apex of the spine and we literally pull them and we pull the shoulders back in the right spots and we leave them there for 15 minutes because it takes a minimum of 8 minutes for the actual muscle memory and ligament memory to develop.
Yeah.
So we do 30 sessions of that and we retake pictures and yeah.
X-rays and all of that.
All of that again. Yeah, we want to retest. We don't see that's what irritates me about a lot of offices too. You'll come in, they'll take X-rays, everything else, tell you all these problems. They'll treat you for 3 to 5 years. You come to me, I go, cool. Did anybody like relook at your data?
Yeah.
And they go, no. I goes, then how the hell do you know it worked?
It's like if a financial guy comes in, like, show me the books. Are you helping my business? Where's the statistics that show that you're helping my business?
That's how people should think about their bloody health. Just like that. That's how people should think about it. Like books, black and white. Here's what's going on and here's where it needs to be. Okay, let's retest.
I have an allergy. I haven't puked in a year. There's the data. I haven't shit my pants.
Yeah?
I actually wake up 5 days a year stiff as opposed to 300.
And here's what I want to tell people. Does your normal suck? Because a lot of people's normal suck. They've just gotten sensitized to their condition.
Dude, and that's where I am at. And it's weird how you have to go into a dark place before you're willing to look for certain answers and you're actually desperate enough to implement it religiously. And it's the deeper in shit you are, the more rigorously you have to work to get out of that. And basically 6 months ago, I implemented all of it. I've obviously gone off the bandwagon slightly because life doesn't always allow for healthy living. And I know the cool thing is I know it's a choice to live unhealthy now. So I still live unhealthy, but it's a conscious decision that if I sleep late, if I watch television, I'm fucking myself over a bit here. And I think that just the general awareness is important.
But knowing is better. Yeah, being aware is better than not being aware because then at least 50% of the time you can make the right decision. and that's what I tell people too. That's what I tell my patients. I go, at least there's going to be that little voice in your head.
Yeah.
I go, are you really going to eat this piece of pizza? Are you really going to drink this milkshake? Are you really going to eat the 4th bribe roiki?
Exactly, and I think we should finish on that because that thing shows that we've probably been busy about 2.5 hours. Dude, thank you. Wicked.
This was all, and I just want to say this was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This is a little bit all over the place. You know, we went a little bit all over the place, but I mean, there is some very valuable stuff in here if you listen.
Exactly, and it'd be cool if you were living here because I would love to do at least 10 a year type of thing. But we'll have to figure it out over Skype and all of those things.
Dude, we should, I mean, that's what we should do. We should do like over the webcam, Skype, whatever. Let's figure it out. And I think it would be cool once this thing grows.
Yeah.
If like almost like a Q&A session where people send you in all these questions on health stuff. And then we can just go through it.
Exactly, man. We can figure it out because the whole, again, each podcast I say this, like, yes, this is a hobby. Yes, I'm a curious individual. Yes, I can talk shit professionally and that's my thing. But I'm trying to live healthier. I'm trying to be happier. And in this process, I sit here because I like listening. I'm going to go implement some of this stuff. Like, even if I just implement 2 things, but in the process, if it helps other people, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, that's pretty much how you got into a little bit of the healthy stuff. It's like you phone me and you're like, okay, Seth, this is what's going on. I need some help.
Yeah.
And I remember you writing down all the sticky notes and showing it to me on your fridge.
Yeah, I had like fucking 20 pieces of sticky notes. And I'm like, that's my Bible, my 10 commandments.
Bro, but it's absolutely brilliant. And here's why. It's because when somebody's ready to listen and they're ready to implement, they'll do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's the right time for them to do it. And that's why we don't work with everybody, even in our clinic and stuff, because some people are ready and some people are not really ready.
Yeah. Wicked, dude. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yes.